Chapter 121, We won. Everyone stared at the shadow stone, only to see that both sides had already engaged in a chaotic battle. Only that little black girl stood by the side and did not stop for a single moment, babbling and babbling. No one knew what she was saying. Yun Chujio had already calculated in her heart. Although she could release her spirit energy, the gigolo had said that she could release her spirit energy before she reached the 4th level of spirit enhancement, so she could not reveal it as a last resort. If she really could not do it, she would strike them again. No matter what, she had to enter the Spirit Flower sect. Hey, Triangle Eyes, our group is called Sanjiaoyan. What's the name of your group? Since she couldn't use her spiritual power, then she would use a little trick. Lu Qinhua was so angry that he gnashed his teeth. My name is Lu Qinhua, not Sanjiaoyan. Our group is called Invincible. I didn't ask what your name is. Why are you so busy reporting your name? You are so shameless. All-conquering. I think you are the pathetic group. Yun Chujio put her hands on her waist and jumped around to scold him. Lu Qinhua was so angry that his face turned green. Stupid girl, don't be so proud. After I take care of these two, I will teach you a lesson. Yun Chujio bared her little white teeth at him. La la la, bite me if you have the ability. Sanjiaoyan. Pathetic group. You are dead. Lu Qinhua was so angry that he actually jumped to the side. He got rid of Yun Chuki and Qin Si and went straight to Yun Chujio. Stupid girl, I told you to spout nonsense. I'll kill you first. Aya, I'm so scared. Don't kill me. Yun Chujio screamed and ran away. Lu Qinhua was so angry that he was dizzy. He didn't care about Yun Chuki and Qin Si who were chasing him with swords. He just threw a few wind blades at Yun Chujio. Oh my god, you scared me to death. Are you going to pierce my heart with thousands of arrows? You triangle-eyed man, you are too vicious. Yun Chujio dodged left and right. It seemed like a close call, but none of the wind blades touched Yun Chujio. Lu Qinhua was about to throw another wind blade at Yun Chujio when Yun Chuki's sword came at him. He had to deal with Yun Chuki and Qin Si who were chasing after him. When Yun Chuki and Qin Si were about to give up, Yun Chujio would jump over and provoke them with her words. However, the arrogant Lu Qinhua could not take it and would definitely go after Yun Chujio again. Therefore, even though Lu Qinhua was much stronger than Yun Chuki, an hour had passed and he still could not get Yun Chuki, Qin Si, and Yun Chujio off the stage. Yun Chujio shouted at Yun Chuzi and the others, Hey, 4th brother, you guys have to work harder. The secret medicine that you guys took before S. Do you guys feel like your bodies are filled with power? Their miserable group is about to be finished. Kill them, and we can enter the Linghua sect. Think about our clansmen, they're all waiting for our good news. Yun Chuzi and Yun Chu combined were already slightly stronger than the fatty. Now that Yun Chujio shouted, she suddenly felt her spirit shake, as if her entire body was filled with strength. The two of them attacked consecutively. The fatty was flustered for a moment and actually lost his footing and fell off the stage. Yun Chuzi and Yun Chu wanted to come over and help, but Yun Chujio quickly shouted, Don't worry about us first. Finish off that thin man first, then we'll gang up on this Sanjiaoyan. When that skinny guy saw that fatty had fallen, he immediately became a little timid. In addition, the Qingyun team members became more and more courageous as they fought. It was as if they were on steroids, and soon, they were also kicked under the stage. When Lu Qinhua saw that fatty and skinny guy lost one after another, he immediately panicked. It was true that he was at level 6 of the spirit enhancement, but a good tiger could not withstand a pack of wolves. It was over. The situation was over. Lu Qinhua held on for a short while and jumped off the high platform. He would definitely lose anyway, so it was better to suffer less. Little Jiu, we won. Little Jiu, we can really enter the Linghua faction. Little Joe, we didn't embarrass the Yun family. The members of the Qin Yun group were so excited that tears streamed down their faces. Yes, from the beginning when they did not have any hope, all the way until now, although they were the weakest and no one thought highly of them, they had won. They had relied on perseverance and hard work, and they had won. Chapter 122 had a sudden change. The meeting room was also filled with cheers. Ha! The Clear Sky Group won. This battle is too exciting. It's really a good example of the weak defeating the strong. Yeah. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. A 4th level spirit enhancement, 2 3rd level spirit enhancement, 3 2nd level spirit enhancement, and a group without spirit energy actually passed 3 rounds of tests. Yeah, the one who contributed the most was that black girl. Smart, she's really too smart. That's right. It's a pity that this black girl doesn't have spirit energy. Otherwise, her future would definitely be boundless. That's right, Peak Master Yu, why doesn't this little girl have spirit energy? It said that she couldn't absorb spirit energy since she was young. It's indeed a pity. Although Yu Feng said so, he was very happy in his heart. No matter what, even if the Clear Sky Group couldn't enter the outer sect, they could at least become odd jobs. Everyone was chatting and laughing. Only Elder Chu and Elder Xiao remained silent. Elder Chu's face was a little embarrassed. He had already said so much, but he didn't expect that the 7 noobs would actually pass 3 rounds of the test. On the other hand, Elder Xiao didn't like Yun Chujia's style of doing things. He thought that this person was too opportunistic and not practical enough. However, the two of them had very high statuses, so they didn't really go to the extent of making things difficult for a few juniors. I'm looking forward to the next individual test. I wonder if these 7 people will be able to enter the outer sect. An elder said excitedly. Only the 300 people with the best results in the individual test will be able to enter the outer sect. It's basically impossible for the 7 of them to enter. Oh right, Elder Chu, what's the content of the individual test? Elder Chu was in a bad mood and said in a muffled voice, first, we have to climb the 10,000 stone steps at the back of the mountain. Then, we have to take the mental illusion test. Everyone could not help but grin. This old man Chu was really ruthless. These people who participated in the test had just entered the 3rd round of the test and were already exhausted. Even if they could climb the 10,000 stone steps and enter the illusion test, their minds would definitely be relaxed and it would be very difficult to pass. Everyone's gaze once again focused on the shadow stone. Most of them were still paying attention to the 7 members of the Qin Yun group. The scene in front of Yun Chujio and the others had already changed from the high platform to the foot of a mountain. The voice of the test disciple came from the test board. Congratulations to the Clear Sky Group for passing 3 rounds of the group test. For the 4th round of the individual test, the first 300 people to climb up the steps to the top of the mountain will enter the outer sect. Yun Chulu and the others looked at the endless stone steps and wailed, oh my god, this looks like there are even more stone steps than the first round of the test. I can't even lift my legs. Yun Chujio glared at them. There's no such thing as impossible, only not working hard. If you can't catch up to me, you can call me Big Sister from now on. After saying that, Yun Chujio opened her legs and ran up the stone steps. Yun Chulu and the others looked at each other. Little Jio was the youngest, and she didn't have any spiritual power. Could it be that they didn't have little Jio's perseverance? Chase! Yun Chujio deliberately slowed down, so that Yun Chulu and the others couldn't catch up, but she also didn't leave too far behind. In the meeting hall, everyone was discussing again. I didn't expect that black girl's stamina to be so good. I think she's very relaxed. It doesn't make sense. How can a little girl without spiritual power have such good stamina? It's really strange. The other 6 people are also commendable for their perseverance. They are completely relying on their mental fortitude to hold on. And, they are indeed not bad. They have already climbed more than half of the way up. If they hold on a little longer, they might very well make it into the top 100. This is really unbelievable. Just when everyone was full of confidence in the Qingyun group, a sudden change occurred. The skies suddenly darkened, and a large patch of thick and heavy Wuyun quickly gathered in the sky. Chapter 123 was a big deal. Yun Chuzhou had a bad premonition the moment Wuyun gathered. Oh my god, could it be that lightning was going to strike her? Normally, she would be very happy and would be eager to be struck by lightning. But now was not the time. Damn lightning, if you didn't come early or late, why did you come to join in the fun? If it was an ordinary silver lightning, it would be better. But if it was a purple lightning tribulation, it would definitely implicate the people around them. What should they do? Yun Chuzhou weighed the pros and cons and said to Yun Chuzi and the others, "You guys climb for a while first. I'll rest for a while." Yun Chulu said with a cheeky smile, "Little Jiu, we don't have any strength left. Can we rest for a while too?" Yun Chujia's small face stiffened. "No, I can still run now. Can you guys do it? Hurry up and climb." Yun Chulu laughed dryly and scratched his head. He could only reluctantly follow Yun Chuzi and the others to climb up. Just as Yun Chulu and the others climbed more than 1,000 feet away, a few silver lightning bolts struck down from the sky. Yun Chuzhou let out a long breath. Fortunately, it was silver and not purple. At this moment, the meeting hall was filled with exclamations. The image on the shadow stone began to blur and eventually turned into ripples. Oh no! The heavenly lightning must have destroyed the formation's eye. This old man will go and check it out. Elder Chu frowned and quickly left to check. Yun Chuzhou had just let out a sigh of relief. Just as she was about to chase after Yun Chuzi and the others, a purple lightning struck down towards Yun Chuzhou. Damn it, she knew it wouldn't be that simple. Yun Chuzhou was afraid of attracting the attention of others and also afraid of implicating others, so she hurriedly left the stone steps and went into the forest next to her. The purple lightning bolt also followed her into the forest in a crooked manner. It seemed like it wouldn't stop until it struck Yun Chuzhou. Finally, Yun Chuzhou found a small empty space. With her hands on her waist, she pointed at the little lightning bolt that was chasing after her and jumped around while cursing, "Fuck. You little purple loach, you didn't come early or late. You actually came to strike me at this time. I'll give you 10,000 bad reviews. You damn little loach. Come on. Strike me. I can't wait for it." The little purple lightning paused for a moment, as if it was in a difficult position. Then, it aimed at Yun Chuzhou. Well, to be precise, it was aimed at Yun Chujia's small satchel. What? Yun Chuzhou was dumbfounded. So it wasn't aimed at her. It was aimed at Xiao Hanyo. Before Yun Chuzhou could react, several more purple lightning bolts came down from the sky. They were exactly the same as the previous. They paused for a moment, then some went to Yun Chuzhou, and some went to the satchel. These finger-sized lightning bolts were like tickles to Yun Chuzhou now. They were not satisfying at all. As Yun Chuzhou was disturbed by the test, she was extremely angry. She pointed at Wu Yun in the sky and cursed, "Too weak. Too weak. Have you not eaten? If you have the ability, hit me harder. Don't make me look down on you." The purple lightning bolts in Wu Yun were instantly enraged. Too much. Too much. Too much. If they didn't chop this black girl to death, they wouldn't be able to survive in the lightning world. Thus, the purple lightning bolts gathered together and a lightning bolt as thick as an adult's arm struck fiercely at Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou looked at the huge lightning bolt coming at her and 3 words flashed across her mind: "I've played too big." Wu Yun in the sky saw the deep pit that was emitting black smoke on the ground and floated away in satisfaction. Done. The two scourges were finally eliminated. Chapter 120. For the miserable Yun Chuzhou, the other 6 members of the Qingyun team climbed for a while. When they saw that Yun Chuzhou did not follow them and heard the deafening thunder, they immediately panicked and rushed back to look for Yun Chuzhou. Coincidentally, they met Bai Moyu and the others who were climbing up. Yun Chuzi and the others were very surprised to see Yun Chushan and the others. She did not expect them to pass 3 rounds of the test. She pretended to be pleasantly surprised. Chuzi, that's great. You guys passed the first 3 rounds of the test too. Why didn't you climb up but went down instead? Third sister, did you see little Jiu on the way here? Yun Chuzi quickly asked Yun Chushan. No. Why? Did little Jiu disappear? Yun Chushan showed a worried expression, but she was actually very happy in her heart. She deserved it. It would be better if Yun Chuzhou was dead. Yun Chuzi had no time to care about Yun Chusi's question. He acknowledged and brought Yun Chu and the others down the mountain. Yun Chushan shouted from behind, "Hey! If you go down, there's a high possibility that you won't be able to enter the outer sect. Why don't you go look for little Jiu after you complete the test? The treatment in the outer sect is 100 times better than that of a handyman." Yun Chuzi and the others stopped in their tracks. Yun Chuzi turned around and gave Yun Chushan a deep look. In our opinion, little Jiu's safety is more important than anything else. Yun Chusi's face stiffened and said embarrassedly, "If you don't know how to appreciate a good person's kindness, then do as you please." Yun Chuzi took a few steps forward and said to Qing Si, "Let's go look for little Jiu. You continue to climb up." Qing Si was stunned. Qing Si, am not the kind of person who doesn't have a sense of loyalty. At worst, he'll just become a servant. Fourth brother, stop wasting time. It's more important to look for little Jiu. Seeing Qing Si's resolute attitude, Yun Chuzi did not say anything more. In his heart, he had a trace of approval for this little sister who came later. Yun Chuzi and the others arrived at the place where Yun Chuzhou was resting and found Yun Chujia's footprints. They searched along the footprints and finally found the deep pit that was still emitting billowing black smoke. Little Jiu's footprints disappeared when they came here. Could it be? Yun Chuzi couldn't continue. He didn't dare to say or think about the tragedy that might happen. Little Jiu. Where are you? Yun Chu cried out loudly with her crying voice. Yun Chuki and the others also shouted at the top of their lungs. They really didn't want to believe the fact that little Jiu had been struck by lightning. They could only shout with a glimmer of hope. Cough. 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 Yun Chujia's weak voice came from the pit. Everyone quickly gathered around the pit. Little Jiu, are you okay? Cough. 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 I'm fine, it's just that the smoke is too strong, and I've changed into a shiny new hairstyle. Hurry up and get a rope to hang down and pull me up. Rope? Yun Chu and the others looked at each other. There was no rope on them either. Fortunately, Qing Si was quick-witted. She saw that there were vines next to her, so she cut a few vines and tied them together, hanging down the deep pit. Everyone exerted their strength together, and without much effort, they pulled a black thing up. At this moment, Yun Chuzhou was in a terrible state. Her body was covered in scorched earth. Other than a pair of eyes that were as red as a rabbit's, no one could see her facial features. By the way, the most shiny thing was the shiny bald head. There was a drooping black crow on the bald head. Its green bean-like eyes were also filled with tears from the smoke. When everyone saw Yun Chujia's miserable state, they felt like laughing out loud. Yun Chulu could not help but laugh out loud. Yun Chuzhou glared at him. Sixth brother, take off your coat and give it to me. Chapter 125 was scamming you. Yun Chulu laughed as he took off his coat. Yun Chujio put it on randomly. This guy was very smart. His coat had already turned into ashes. Fortunately, he was wearing the clothes that he had taken from the gigolo. It was obvious that this coat was a treasure. He was fine even after being hacked a few times. He didn't want to be remembered by others. Yun Chujio had just put on her outer clothes when she heard someone shout, "Hey, why did you 7 little vegetables come here instead of taking the test?" Everyone turned around and saw an old man wearing the Linghua sect's uniform walk in. The old man was Elder Chu. After he repaired the array core, he rushed over when he saw black smoke rising from here. "Hey, black girl, what happened to you? Did you get struck by lightning? Haha, did you get your retribution?" Elder Chu looked at the dark Yun Chujio and couldn't even straighten his back from laughing. Cough. Cough. How should I address this elder? Yun Chujio wished she could kick this old thing a few times. However, she glanced at Elder Chu's clothes and suppressed the primal energy in her body. This old man wore the same clothes as Elder's son and the others. It seemed that he was also an elder, so it was better not to offend him. Im Chu Bewley, black girl. You haven't answered my question yet. Why are you here? And what's with your appearance? Elder Chu also felt that he had lost his composure, so he held back his laughter and said. So you're Elder Chu? I've always heard that Elder Chu of the Linghua sect has superb spiritual power and is wise and open-minded. Seeing you today, it's as I expected. Yun Chujio's red eyes burst out with strong admiration. Elder Chu had never thought that the words coming out of this black girl's mouth would be so pleasant to hear and so beneficial. He immediately straightened his back and said, "Don't spout nonsense. It's all thanks to everyone. You can't count it." Yun Chujio was an ancestor who could read people's words and expressions. Seeing Elder Chu's physical behavior, she knew that this old thing was pretentious and liked to listen to flattery the most. She immediately felt confident. Elder Chu, how can you say that? Who doesn't know that Elder Chu Buli of the Linghua sect is resourceful and has both wisdom and courage? He is a well-known figure in the Qing Xian continent. When I was in Yi City, I admired you very much. I didn't expect to finally meet you today. Please give me an autograph. In the future, I will use this autograph of yours as my motto. Yun Chujio said as she tore a corner of her robe and raised her hands above her head respectfully. The other members of the Qingyun team were simply stunned. Oh my god. Little Jiu, you're too good at making things up. When have you ever heard of a song that never leaves a sigh? And you even used your signature as your motto? Can you be any more shameless? Elder Chu, on the other hand, fell for this trick. The little grudge he had against Yun Chujio from before instantly vanished into thin air. This black girl, good. Very good. Very good. The Linghua sect lacked such a good disciple who dared to speak the truth and make progress. Elder Chu immediately took out a brush and ink from his storage ring and signed his name on the cloth. Black girl, good, you're very good. Even though you won't be able to enter the outer sect, you can still make a name for yourself as a handyman. Work hard. I have high hopes for you. Elder Chu, don't worry, I'll definitely do my job well. I'll be conscientious, hardworking, and diligent. I won't let you lose face. Yun Chujio straightened her small body, and her attitude was as upright as possible. Good. 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 Oh right, how did you come here? What's with this pit? Elder Chu, who was in a daze from being tricked, finally remembered the important matter. Chapter 126 must be a coincidence. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes, with an innocent look on her face. She said, Elder Chu, I was resting on the steps when I saw several bolts of lightning striking downwards. I ran into the forest in fear, but I didn't expect to be struck by a bolt of lightning. After that, I didn't know anything. Yun Chuzi and the others also proved, "That's right, Elder Chu. We found that Xiao Hanio was missing, so we quickly came to find her and pulled her out of the pit." Elder Chu looked at the vine still hanging at the entrance of the deep pit, then looked at Yun Chuji's bald head, and then fixed his gaze on the little black bird on the top of Yun Chuji's head, which was drooping. Fire-spitting crow. Black girl, is this fire-spitting crow your spiritual pet? Yun Chujio held the short wings of the fire-spitting crow in disgust. "Yes, I found it in the demon beast forest. Elder Sun said that the fire-spitting crow had a gentle temperament, so he let me keep it." "Wah, wah, wah." Xiao Hanio cooperatively called out a few times. Elder Chu nodded. "And, this bird is quite compatible with you. They're both small fries." Xiao Hanio's eyes widened. "Fuck, you're the small fry. You'll fall to your death." Pa Ji, Elder Chu's left foot tripped over his right foot, and he fell like a dog gnawing on mud. Elder Chu was stunned from the fall. As a dignified elder of the Linghua sect, he actually tripped himself. If this were to be known, it would be a laughing death. His old face flushed red, and before Yun Chujio and the others could react, he hurriedly jumped up and disappeared with a whoosh. Xiao Hanio saw that Elder Chu had disappeared, and only then did he land on the ground, rolling on the ground with laughter. "Ha ha ha. Damn it. You stinky old man, you actually called me a noob. You're even noob. Why didn't you fall to your death? Ha ha ha. I didn't think that I would casually say something and he would fall. This mouth of mine is simply..." Xiao Hanio thought of something and quickly used its short wings to cover its mouth. "Oh God, could it be that I really jinxed it? Impossible. I have nothing to do with that unlucky low-level bird. It must be a coincidence." Yes, this was completely a coincidence. Yun Chujio couldn't be bothered with it. The test wasn't over yet. Although she couldn't enter the outer sect, it was still pretty good to be able to enter the Spirit Flower sect and become a handyman. It was better to go and see what arrangements were made first. "Fifth sister, seventh sister, give me your handkerchief. I'll wrap my head." Yun Chujio took the handkerchief and rubbed the charcoal ash on her face first. Then, she wrapped the handkerchief around her head. She even purposely left 2 small tails behind. "Ah, little Jio, you seem to be WH. Little Jio, this is a blessing in disguise. You are really whiter than before. Also, the handkerchief you made on your head is quite unique." Yun Chujio raised her neck proudly and put her hands behind her back. "Of course. I, Yun Chujio, will definitely be a great beauty in the future. In the past, I just hid my strength and bided my time." Everyone's faces froze. This guy really couldn't help but praise him. Just a little sunshine would make him shine. "Brothers, sisters, I'm sorry. If it weren't for me, you would have been able to enter the outer gate." Yun Chujio felt warm in her heart when she saw that everyone had given up on the test to find her. "Little Jio, what nonsense are you talking about? Don't say that we relied on you to pass the previous test. Just because you are our sister, we can't ignore you. Don't say such things in the future." Yun Chuzi said with a straight face. Yun Chujio nodded, but her nose was a little sour. Was this family love? There were no conditions. Just because we were family, we could protect each other, be warm to each other, and never abandon each other in life and death. Chapter 127. Don't believe in evil. Yun Chujio and the others left the forest. As they stood on the stone steps and looked around blankly, a white light flashed in front of their eyes. They had already been transported to a square. The ground of the square was paved with large pieces of bluestone slabs. There were some inconspicuous patterns on them, making them look extremely ancient and solemn. There were already many people gathered in the square. Coincidentally, Bai Moyu and the others were standing next to Yun Chujio and the others. Yun Chushan saw that Yun Chujio was still alive and was very disappointed. However, when she thought about how she would be an outer sect disciple in the future while Yun Chujio and the others could only be low-level laborers, her heart immediately felt at ease. Baimoru and Baimoru were naturally very happy. Yun Chujio and the others were only laborers and their treatment in the future was far worse than theirs. They might even be able to enter the inner sect after the trial in a year's time. As for them, just be servants for the rest of their lives. No matter how much that elder son liked Yun Chujio, it was useless for Yun Chujio to not be able to cultivate. Sooner or later, elder son would give up on her. Moreover, this was still not the disciple recruitment ceremony, so there was no guarantee of what would happen. The disciple in charge of the entrance test said a few words of courtesy, and then sent people to bring the outer sect disciples and servants to the corresponding areas to be settled. The Linghua sect was situated on Mount Linghua, and the higher one went, the denser the spiritual energy became. Mount Linghua had 6 peaks, and they were respectively the East Peak, West Peak, South Peak, North Peak, Middle Peak, and Main Peak. The odd job areas on each peak were all below the mountainside, and the spiritual energy was the thinnest. The disciple leading the team randomly assigned these new odd-job workers to their respective regions. Even though it was random, there was a reason for it. Some odd-job workers with acquaintances or backgrounds were assigned to lighter positions, such as the alchemy division. Being an alchemist's attendant was not only easy, but one could also learn some alchemy knowledge. The herb planting department was also not bad. As long as the task was completed by the day, it would be fine. Usually, there was no one supervising it, so one could have a lot of time to go to the outer sect's cultivation hall to attend classes. The servants in the miscellaneous department were also not bad. They were all running errands and temporary workers. They could both slack off and get to know some useful people. Although the spirit beast department was a little dirty, those who had spirit beasts were mostly inner sect disc. This was a good opportunity to reach the sky in one step, so it was also a place to fight over. The most unpopular place, and also the place that everyone didn't want to go, was the big kitchen. Not only was the big kitchen greasy, but it was also the most tiring. There was no time to cultivate at all. Moreover, in order to prevent the pollution of the spiritual energy, the big kitchen on every mountain peak was built under the ground. It was also the place where the spiritual energy was the thinnest. Because the people in the big kitchen were basically rookies with no background, among the few departments of the handyman's office, the big kitchen was the most unpopular and the department that was always bullied. The disciple in charge of the distribution department was called Qi Sheng. He glanced at Yun Chujio and the others with his eyes and curled his lips. The few of you, go to the big kitchen in the middle peak. Yun Chujio did not know the twists and turns inside. As soon as she heard that they were going to the big kitchen, her heart immediately bloomed with joy. The big kitchen was great. At the very least, she would not have to worry about the delicious food in the future. Ha ha ha. Yun Chuzi and the others were also very happy. As long as they entered the Linghua sect, it would be fine. Which department was different? Some servants who knew the inside story cast pitying gazes at Yun Chujio and the others. These 7 people could be considered useless. Yun Chujio was very shrewd. When she saw their gazes, her heart moved slightly. Could it be that the big kitchen was not a good place to go? Humph. I, Yun Chujio, will not believe it. Even if it is a bad place, once I, Yun Chujio, go, it will be a top-notch good place to go. What's more, it's in the middle peak. It's simply too good. Chapter 128 was still white after Qi Sheng announced the distribution of personnel. He continued, now line up and use your test cards to receive the entry-level materials. Then, stand in line according to the peaks. There will be someone to take you to the appropriate places. The entry-level materials included 2 sets of handyman service, a low-grade storage bag, an identity jade token, a copy of the Linghua Sex rules, and a copy of the Linghua Sex entry-level cultivation method, the Linghua technique. Most of the handymen immediately opened their storage bags and placed their items inside. Among the members of the Qingyun team, only Yun Chuzi was able to release his spirit energy, so the members of the Qingyun team placed their items inside Yun Chuzi's storage bag. Seeing them like this, the handymen couldn't help but have contemptuous looks on their faces. The spirit energy of the members of the Qingyun team was too low. They must have gone through dog shit and luck to pass the test. Now that they had been assigned to the big kitchen on the middle peak, they could no longer turn things around. The big kitchen was the worst department to begin with, and the big kitchen on the middle peak was the best among the big kitchens on the 6 peaks. They were often bullied, and these 7 people were considered useless. Yun Chuzhou and the other servants of the middle peak followed an outer sect disciple named Lin Peng out of the square and rushed to the middle peak. The Linghua sect was really too big. These odd-job workers walked for nearly 2 hours before they reached the middle peak. It was unknown if Lin Peng did it on purpose. The big kitchen was originally at the foot of the mountain, but he just had to take Yun Chuzhou and the others around a big circle. Only after he had finished arranging the other odd-job workers did he bring Yun Chuzhou and the others to the big kitchen. "Old Huang, there's a new person here. Come over and take over." Lin Peng's attitude was very arrogant, and he was just short of pointing his nose at the sky. He's here, he's here. There's finally a new person here. I'm really short of manpower here." A fat old man ran out. Lin Peng snorted contemptuously. "Old Huang, I've given you quite a lot of people. If you can't keep them, it's not our handyman's fault." The fat old man smiled and said, that's right. It's because our Middle Peak's big kitchen doesn't have the ability. It can't be blamed on others." Lin Peng pursed his lips, took out the token and handed it over to the fat old man, then left. The fat old man sized up Yun Chuzhou and the others, then shouted at the big kitchen, "Mei Li, Ho Tian, Bei Yuan, come out and pick people. 3PO. The fat old man smiled and said, "My surname is Huang. You can call me Steward Huang or Old Huang. I'm the chief steward of Zhongfen Kitchen and also the kitchen steward." The fat old man introduced the 3 people in turn. The big man was called Mei Li, the chopping board steward, who was in charge of cutting vegetables. The skinny man was called Ho Tian, the water table steward, who was in charge of picking vegetables and washing vegetables. The pale-faced middle-aged man, Bei Yuan, was the stove steward. He was also in charge of cooking. Right, besides the 3 of them, there's also Lan Xiaohua, who is in charge of the case, and Ding Jun, who is in charge of purchasing ingredients. I have something to do today, so I'll introduce you to him tomorrow. Alright, the 3 of you can choose your people. Mei Li pointed at Yun Chulu and Yun Chuba and said in a muffled voice, "My job requires a strong body. The 2 of you can follow me." Ho Tian pointed at Yun Chu, Yun Chuki, and Qing Si and said, "The 3 of you can follow me. It's easier to pick and wash vegetables." Bei Yuan pointed at Yun Chuzi and said, "You can follow me." Finally, Elder Huang looked at Yun Chuzhou and said, "Little girl, then you can follow me to light the fire. After all, even if you're black, you're not afraid of smoke." Yun Chuzhou only wanted to shout at Elder Huang, "I'm white. I'm white." Chapter 129 Roasting a rabbit would be punished. The few of you go to the dormitory to settle down first. You will officially start work tomorrow. Our big kitchen was made of iron and water, so this dormitory was the richest. The 3 rows at the back were all dormitories. Those who had activated the array in the courtyard had already been occupied. You can choose any of the remaining rooms. Old Huang pointed to the room at the back of the big kitchen and said. Yun Chuzhou and the others thanked him. Then, they passed through a bluestone road and came to the backyard of the kitchen. The kitchen was close to the back of the mountain. Although the spiritual energy was far inferior to the spiritual energy above, to Yun Chujio and the others, this place was like heaven. The spiritual energy here was much richer than the spiritual energy in Yi City. It was simply much stronger. 7 people were selected. In the end, they chose the 7 small courtyards in the 3rd row. Only Yun Chuzi had activated the array formation in the courtyard. The other 6 people were unable to activate the array formation in the courtyard because they could not release their spiritual energy. However, they did not have anything valuable, so they were not afraid of people stealing. After she had tidied up, it was already dark. Yun Chujio thought of a very important question. Fuck. They had not eaten dinner yet. They had been hungry for a whole day. Therefore, this guy stretched his neck and shouted, "Brothers, sisters, let's go and eat." Yun Chuzi and the others were also hungry. Therefore, the 7 of them came to the big kitchen in a mighty manner. Then, they realized that the big kitchen had already activated the array formation. Apparently, it had been closed. Why does this big kitchen have an array formation to protect it? Can someone steal things? Yun Chulu asked in confusion. Maybe there really was such a thing in the past, so they created an array formation. After all, the ingredients here are all spirit vegetables and spirit rice. They are also very valuable outside. Yun Chuzi thought for a moment and said. Then what should we do? We didn't bring any dry rations. Ah, this is bad. When we entered the Linghua sect, those few horses are still in foster care at the inn. What a waste. Yun Chuki stomped her feet. What a miscalculation. 7th sister, can you be a little more promising? It's just a few horses. When I'm rich in the future, I'll get you a spirit beast to ride on. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Yun Chuki glared at her. Let's not talk about riding spirit beasts. If you can fill our stomachs now, I'll be thankful to the heavens. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. What's so difficult about that? As the saying goes, one depends on the mountain to eat the mountain, and another depends on the water to eat the water. Behind us is the back mountain. I don't believe that we can't find food. Let's go. Let's go hunting. Xiaojiu, is hunting allowed in the back of the mountain? Will we be punished? Yun Chu asked worriedly. What's not allowed? It's not a spiritual beast. Aren't you guys hungry? Listen to me, that's right. At this moment, Yun Chujio did not care about the stupid sect rules. It was more proper to fill her stomach. They bypassed the dormitory area and went straight into the back of the mountain. Xiao Hei, the task of finding the prey is up to you. If we can't find the prey, we'll have to go hungry. Xiao Heinio was so hungry that his heart was stuck to his back. Naturally, he worked hard and soon found a few wind-blade rabbits. The group caught these few fat rabbits without much effort. The group skillfully lit a fire and began to roast the rabbits. Looking at the oily roasted rabbits, the group could not stop swallowing their saliva. They did not care about the burning of their mouths and began to devour the food. While the group was enjoying their meal, Yun Chujio frowned. Someone was here. How dare you? How dare you defy the rules of the sect and roast the meat here? Men! Tie these people up and bring them back to the law enforcement hall. A gloomy voice said. Chapter 130 was about to beat you up. Yun Chuzi and the others were shocked and stood up in panic. Only Yun Chujio was still squatting on the ground, slowly chewing on the rabbit leg. The little black bird next to her was also eating, and eating without raising its head. Yun Chujio. You are still eating. You are really lawless. Someone kicked over the grill and the roasted rabbit fell to the ground. The person even stepped on the roasted rabbit. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed. She looked up and saw 3 people standing in front of her. The person in the lead was a middle-aged man with triangular eyes. Yun Chuzhou felt that he looked familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had seen this person before. The person in the lead was a middle-aged man with triangular eyes, and he looked like he was from Sanjiaoyan. What are you looking at? You, a trash without spiritual power, can enter the Linghua sect like smoke rising from your ancestors' graves. You actually dare to come to the back of the mountain and light a fire to roast meat. You don't know what's good for you. The man saw that Yun Chuzhou was still squatting on the ground. He raised his leg and kicked at Yun Chuzhou. Ah! Little Jiu! Yun Chuzi and the others cried out in shock. It was already too late to stop her. A trace of sternness flashed across Yun Chuji's eyes. She lightly jumped to the side, and the rabbit leg in her hand, which she had yet to finish eating, landed on the man's face. The man did not expect that Yun Chuzhou would actually dare to resist. He was momentarily careless and was hit by the rabbit leg. Although Yun Chuzhou was thin, her strength was not small, and the man's face instantly swelled up. The man was stunned at first, then his triangular eyes stood up. Good. Yun Chuzhou, you are rebelling. You openly attacked a law enforcement disciple. Yun Chuzhou, just wait to be expelled from the Linghua faction. Take her away. Yun Chuzhou snorted coldly. Wait. I was scared by you just now, so I let go of the rabbit's leg. It was just your bad luck that it hit you. What does it have to do with me? Also, what right do you have to say that we violated the sect rules? Which sect rule says that you are not allowed to eat roasted rabbit? Besides, you said that you are disciples of the law enforcement hall, so you are. What proof do you have? The triangular-eyed man's expression was ferocious. Although the sect rule does not say that you are not allowed to eat roasted rabbit, open fire is prohibited on the back mountain, so you are openly violating the sect rules. This is our law enforcement token. Open your dog eyes and look. Yun Chuzhou took the token that the man threw over and took a look. It was indeed a law enforcement token, but it was only the law enforcement hall of the Western Peak. Why did you come to the Middle Peak? Humph. The law enforcement hall of the Six Peaks has always taken turns to enforce the law in the Linghua sect. Yun Chuzhou, stop quibbling. Take them away. A fierce look flashed across the triangular-eyed man's eyes. Take them back and entertain them properly first. In any case, they would definitely be expelled from the Linghua sect the next day. The two men behind San Jiaoyan saw this and were about to go forward and tie up Yun Chuzhou and the others when Yun Chuzhou jumped up and gave San Jiaoyan 2 tight slaps on the face. Then, she gave San Jiaoyan a fierce kick in the stomach. This place was originally a gentle slope. The man directly rolled out 100 feet away. Whether it was Yun Chuzi and the others or the people brought by San Jiaoyan, they were all dumbfounded. No one would have thought that Yun Chuzhou would start beating him up at the slightest disagreement. San Jiaoyan's fall was not light, but it was only a few superficial injuries. He was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Good. Good. Yun Chuzhou, you actually beat up a law enforcement disciple in public. If I, Lu Qingzhen, don't chase you out of the Linghua sect, my surname will not be Lu. Let's go. Tomorrow, we'll take the arrest warrant to arrest her. Let's see if she still dares to disobey. San Jiaoyan saw that he wouldn't be able to gain any advantage today, so he called for the other 2 people to leave angrily. Little Jiu, what should we do? Yun Chuzi and the others looked at Yun Chuzhou in fear. Don't worry, I have a way. Come, let's continue to roast the rabbits. There are still a few raw ones. Yun Chuzhou didn't care and started to build a fire again, starting to roast the rabbits. Although Yun Chuzi and the others were panicking, seeing Yun Chuzhou so calm, they didn't know why their hearts calmed down. Forget it, just listen to Little Jiu. Little Jiu will definitely have a good idea. Chapter 131. After the 7 of them finished roasting the remaining rabbits, Yun Chuzhou wiped her mouth and stretched lazily. Brothers and sisters, wait for me downstairs. I'll do some cleaning up, and then I'll look for you. No matter what happens later, you don't have to care. Although Yun Chuzi and the others were a little worried, they knew that Yun Chujio had many ideas, so they could only head back first. After a while, they saw a few dazzling lights flash past the spot where the barbecue had been, accompanied by the sound of heavy objects falling to the ground. After a while, Yun Chujio jumped into action and caught up with Yun Chuzi and the others with Little Black. Little Jio, was there a flash on the mountain just now? Did it hurt you? Yun Chuzi asked worriedly. That's right. There was indeed a flash. But the lightning came at the right time. Come over. Well, do it this way tomorrow. Do you understand? Yun Chujio bared her little white teeth and showed a little fox-like smile. Yun Chuzi and the others were stunned when they heard that. They looked at Yun Chujio in shock. Little Jio was simply too evil. This was simply turning the tables. Little Jio, is this really a good idea? After all, we were in the wrong. Yun Chuzi could not continue because Yun Chujio was looking at him coldly. Do you guys think that I've gone too far? Shouldn't I go against the law enforcement agency? Shouldn't I obediently follow them? Yun Chujio's little face sank. Yun Chuzi and the others inexplicably felt that Little Jio was very scary at that moment, and they said in a meek voice, Little Jio, we don't have any intention of blaming you. We just don't understand. Won't this matter blow up? What would happen to us then? Yun Chujio snorted coldly. Fourth brother, take out the rules of the Spirit Radiance sect and have a closer look. If you start a fire in the back mountain, what's the crime, and what punishment will you receive? Yun Chuzi hurriedly took out the rules from his storage bag and flipped through them. Perhaps he was nervous because he could not find it even after some time. Yun Chujio said faintly, Page 5, Article 108. Yun Chuzi flipped to page 5, and as expected, Article 108 said, those who start a fire in the back mountain without permission will be punished according to the circumstances and the consequences. Those who are lightly punished will be given a verbal warning or be punished with spirit pearls or spirit stones. Those who are severely punished will be imprisoned until they reflect on their mistakes, and those who are in serious circumstances will be expelled from the sect. Our circumstances are clearly very mild, but why did Senior Brother Lu imply that it's serious? He even said that he wants to expel us from the Spirit Radiance sect. Yun Chuzi cried, "Oh you! That's because San Jiaoyan wants to use this as an excuse to take advantage of the situation and get revenge for his personal grudge." Yun Chujio laughed coldly. Little Jio, what do you mean? Revenge? San Jiaoyan has nothing to do with us, right? Yun Chuzi asked in confusion. At first, I just thought he looked familiar, but after hearing his name, I suddenly realized. Do you remember that miserable group that we eliminated in the third round? Wasn't that group leader called Lu Qinghua? That triangular-eyed man was called Lu Qingzhen, and he looked so much like San Jiaoyan. Perhaps he was a relative. Yun Chujio saw that Yun Chuzi and the others still did not seem to understand, and she sighed in her heart. The Yun family had protected them too well, and they were all a little too kind. Looks like it was time to get them out of their heads. That triangular-eyed man was rude and unreasonable from the start. He deliberately threatened us with all sorts of words and actions. Do you think he usually enforces the law like that? He's setting a trap for us to fall into. I bet that as long as we obediently leave with them tonight, not only will we be expelled from the Spirit Radiance sect tomorrow, but we will also be tortured. Brothers and sisters, this isn't Yi City, nor is it the Yun family. Although the Spirit Radiance sect is a famous sect, there are still quite a number of dirty and sinister people here. Why do you think we were assigned to the most useless Middle Peak kitchen? Why did that disciple deliberately lead us around a big circle? Why was the array formation done in the big kitchen even though he knew that we had not eaten dinner? Why were we caught red-handed by the law enforcement agency the moment we roasted the rabbits? You must remember that from this moment on, you must remain vigilant at all times. Otherwise, not only will you be expelled from the Spirit Radiance sect, you will lose your own lives and those of your brothers and sisters. Do you understand? Chapter 132, She was not human at all. Yunchuji's words undoubtedly had a huge impact on Yunchuzi and the others. For a moment, they were silent. Qing Si looked at Yunchujio with admiration. Little Jiu is absolutely right. I've fully experienced what it means to not have the intention to harm others, but to be wary of others. If it weren't for me, I would have been dead long ago. Yunchujio only smiled. It's getting late. Everyone, go back and rest. We have a busy day tomorrow. Yunchuzi and the others looked as if they were deep in thought as they returned to their own courtyards in confusion. Yunchujio returned to her own courtyard. She did not know where to get water, so she laid on the bed to rest without washing up. Little Black was afraid that Yunchujio would settle the score after autumn, so he obediently lied in a corner of the bed and pretended to be dead. Although she had experienced a lot that day, Yunchujio had always been a heartless person, so she fell asleep soon enough. Early next morning, there was the sound of a bell ringing and Old Man Huang's loud voice, "Get up. Let's go to work." Yunchujio rolled around with the quilt in her arms. She woke up so early. She was torturing herself. I must think of a way to get Old Man Huang to allow me to sleep in. Yunchujio muttered a few words before struggling to get out of bed. She brought Little Black out of the courtyard. Yunchuzi and the others were already waiting for her outside the courtyard. Each of them had big dark circles under their eyes. It was obvious that they did not sleep well the night before. Little Jiu, I thought it through last night. You're right. I shouldn't have the benevolence of a woman. Little Jiu, if we do something wrong in the future, you can scold us harshly. Little Jiu, sixth brother is stupid. He'll listen to you from now on. Yunchujio giggled. Not everything I say is right. Let's remind each other in the future. Let's go, time to work. Oh right, Little Jiu, how do you know the 108th rule on page 5 of the sect rules? The one about the fire prevention. When I was collecting the item, I flipped through it once and remembered it. What's so difficult about that? Yunchujio said carelessly and then hopped toward the big kitchen. I flipped through it once. I remembered it. I remembered it. What's so difficult about that? Once. 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 Little Jiu, are you showing off or are you showing off? Are you doing this on purpose? Everyone looked at each other and had a consensus in their hearts. Little Jiu's brain was different from theirs. She was not human at all. Yunchujio really did not do it on purpose. This fellow felt that it was normal for her to look at such a thin piece of paper and remember things. Yunchuzi and the rest followed Yunchujio into the big kitchen with a dumbfounded look. It was already busy inside. Although breakfast was relatively simpler, there were nearly 2,000 people at Middle Peak, so the workload was very heavy. The big kitchen was divided into two parts. In front was the place for the disciples to eat. The kitchen staff laid out all kinds of food, and those who came to eat could take it for themselves. Behind the big kitchen was the back kitchen. The cooking was all done in the back kitchen. The back kitchen was very big. There were 20 stoves, and each stovetop was 5 times the size of an ordinary stovetop. There was already a fragrance filling the big pot. The 7 people had just entered when they were called over by their respective stewards. Yunchujio followed Bei Yuan to a stovetop. Bei Yuan called over a handyman. Wang Yuan, teach this little girl how to light the fire. The handyman, named Wang Yuan, looked very gentle. As he was looking after the 5 stovetops, he taught Yunchujio. Little girl, this pot is boiling rice porridge. When the pot is boiling, the fire should be gentle. If the fire is too big, remove the firewood. If the fire is too small, add more firewood. Do you understand? Yun Chujio nodded obediently. She squatted on the ground and began the first day of her career as a fire girl. Chapter 133, Sorry, my hand slipped. Yun Chujio looked at the red stove and thought to herself, how good would it be if I could get a few sweet potatoes and throw them into the oven to roast. If I really can't get sweet potatoes, I can get a few potatoes too. Although Yun Chuzi and the others were worried about the law enforcement agency, they could not help but relax when they saw Yun Chujio acting as if nothing had happened. They focused on the work in hand. An hour later, Middle Peak's outer disciples came down to have breakfast one after another. As for the inner disciples and elders, there were special handymen who came down to take their food. This was the difference in levels. Of course, there were also some disciples who took more food at a time so as to not delay their cultivation. After all, the food would not turn cold or go bad when it was placed in the storage bag. Yun Chujio initially did not feel that there was anything wrong with being a handyman in the big kitchen. Now, she felt that it was not good. It was very bad. Very bad. It was because the feeling of seeing but not being able to taste the food was really just too uncomfortable. Whether it was the boiling porridge in the pot or the big steamed bun, they could only look at it and not eat it. It was simply terrible, was it not? Senior Brother Wang, when can the people in the big kitchen have breakfast? Yun Chujio swallowed her saliva dozens of times and finally could not hold it in anymore. Wang Yuan smiled. When the people in front are almost gone, we can have our breakfast. What's the matter? Are you hungry? Wait a moment. Seeing that there was no one in front of the steamer, Wang Yuan quickly took a big bun from inside and handed it to Yun Chujio. He said in a low voice, squat behind the stove and eat. No one will notice. Yun Chujio felt that Wang Yuan was the bodhisattva who saved the world, a little angel waving her wings. After thanking him in a low voice, she took the bun and started eating it happily. Wang Yuan could not help but shake his head when he saw Yun Chujio wolfing down the bun. When Elder Huang had left last night, he had specially instructed Manager Ding, who had come back later, not to activate the array formation until the 7 new children had eaten. Who would have thought that just as Elder Huang left, Manager Ding had activated the array formation? Manager Ding had a strong backing. Even Elder Huang could not do anything to him. The new children would probably have a hard time in the future. Finally, when the disciples in front had mostly dispersed, the odd-job workers in the big kitchen began to eat. Although there were only a few simple types of food, the ingredients used were all rich in spiritual energy, so they tasted very good. Yun Chujio took the bowl and picked up 2 steamed buns. She placed them under her feet and fed them to Little Black. Bastard! These are food for humans to eat. How can they be eaten by a beast? It was already very kind of her to let you bring this unlucky thing in, but you actually want to feed it steamed buns? Originally, it was already good enough for our big kitchen to keep you 7 good-for-nothings. Now, you want to raise beasts as well. You must be dreaming. A man with slightly blue eye circles pointed at Yun Chujio's nose and cursed loudly. Yun Chujio's eyes darkened. Fuck. Did she not have a good relationship with this spirit radiance sect? Why were there so many scumbags coming out of nowhere? If something had to be said, then just say it nicely. They opened their mouths to talk about this but shut up about all the other nonsense. Were they trying to see if they were easy to bully? Before Yun Chujio could do anything, Little Black was already furious. Caw. 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 You scum. You actually dare to scold this young master. Curse you to fall and die. The man was still cursing when his legs suddenly went weak and he fell to the ground. Yun Chujio let go and the bowl of porridge in her hand fell on the man's head. The porridge in the bowl burned the man's face. Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My hand slipped. You were just scolding me just now. Why are you suddenly lying on the ground? Yun Chuzhou shook her hand and looked annoyed and guilty. Yun Chuzi and the others were sure that little Jiu did it on purpose. They lit a candle in their hearts for that person. He actually dared to provoke little Jiu during meal time. He must have been tired of living. Chapter 134. Take a look. The man on the ground almost fainted from anger. He wiped his face with his hand. You stinky girl. I'll make sure you're well acquainted with the rules here. The man got up and reached out his hand to hit Yun Chuzhou as Elder Huang reached out and grabbed the man's arm. Manager Ding. This is just an accident. If you don't let her feed her spiritual pet, then just don't allow it. Yun Chuzhou, don't feed your spiritual pet with spiritual food in the future, do you hear me? Elder Huang winked at Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou understood and said, yes. I know I'm wrong. I won't do this in the future. Manager Ding glared at Yun Chuzhou viciously. Humph. I'll let you off this time on account of Elder Huang. Don't offend me in the future, or I won't let you off. Manager Ding kicked the table where Yun Chuzhou and the others were eating and left. Mei Li was panting heavily and was about to chase after them when Ho Tian also stood up angrily. Although Bei Yuan did not do anything, there was anger in his eyes. The rest of them also showed dissatisfaction and resentment. Old man Huang sighed. Forget it. Forget it. We can't afford to offend him. Let's eat. Little girl, try to avoid him in the future. Don't you have a storage bag? Put more spiritual food in the storage bag and feed this little thing when we return to the dormitory. Yun Chuzhou nodded. She wondered what kind of background that bullshit manager Ding had that made the people at the kitchen so afraid. She would ask again after some time. They were not familiar with each other then, so they might not be willing to tell her. Just after breakfast, someone shouted arrogantly from outside, Yun Chuzi, Yun Chu, Yun Chuzhou. Come out. On the order of our law enforcement agency's Elder Shao, we will take you to be interrogated. Little girl, what's going on? Elder Huang was shocked. How did they provoke West Peak's law enforcement agency after only being there for a day? Yun Chuzhou pursed her lips. Elder Huang, I didn't want to mention this at first. Since they're here, then. Well, let's talk outside. Everyone in the big kitchen followed Yun Chuzhou and the others out. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes and picked up a large copper basin and a spoon to hold the dishes. Although everyone was baffled, no one said anything. Humph. Yun Chuzhou, you dare to beat up law enforcement disciples. We're under Elder Shao's orders to bring you in to interrogate. The one who spoke was Lu Qingzhen. He looked at Yun Chuzhou viciously. Darn girl, as long as you are expelled from the Spirit Radiance sect, it would be the start of your doom. Elder Huang smiled apologetically. Junior brother, is there some misunderstanding? Yun Chuzhou and the others just reported to duty at our big kitchen last night. How could they beat up law enforcement disciples? Get out of my way, you old bastard. You're just a handyman and have no right to speak. Lu Qingzhen pushed Elder Huang away. Elder Huang was caught off guard and almost fell. Yun Chuzhou jumped forward and kicked Lu Qingzhen in the stomach. Lu Qingzhen was unprepared. He was kicked more than 100 feet away by Yun Chuzhou. Never in his dreams did Lu Qingzhen think that Yun Chuzhou would have the guts to kick him in front of so many people. Shut your damn mouth. Didn't your family teach you how to respect the old and love the young? Do you know how to speak human language? Yun Chuzhou said as she jumped to Lu Qingzhen's side. While he was still in a daze, she kicked his mute acupoint. Yun Chuzhou picked up the spoon and banged on the copper basin. Come and take a look. The West Peaks Law Enforcement Agency is bullying us. They're going to storm Middle Peaks Dining Hall. Those from the south and the north, don't miss it. Chapter 135, No choice but to suffer in silence. There were still some disciples who had not left the cafeteria. When they heard the commotion, they all ran out to watch the commotion. Although they did not care about the people in the cafeteria, and they usually yelled a lot, no matter what, this was Middle Peak's territory. If the people from the West Peak came here to show off, would it not be a slap to the face for Middle Peak? Seeing that more and more people were watching, Yun Chujio jumped onto a big rock with a whoosh. Her small face wrinkled, and she said with a grievance, "Senior brothers and sisters, the 7 of us were just assigned to Middle Peak's big kitchen last night. As it was too late, the canteen was already closed. We were so hungry that we thought of going up the mountain to find some wild fruits to satisfy our hunger. Unexpectedly, as soon as we reached the top of the mountain, a few bolts of lightning came down from the sky and struck the trees nearby. The few of us looked at it and realized that this was our Middle Peak's property. How could we just stand by and watch? Thus, we spent a lot of effort to put out the fire. Just as we were about to head back, guess what we discovered?" Yun Chujio kept them guessing in a mysterious manner. Everyone's appetite was raised. They widened their eyes and pricked up their ears to continue listening. "We discovered that the lightning coincidentally killed a nest of rabbits. We were already hungry, so how could we endure the smell of roasted meat? Thus, we ate the rabbit meat there. Who would have thought that Lu Qingzhen brought 2 people up to scold us without any reason, saying that we were going to set fire to the mountain and drive us out of the sect?" Hearing what he said, we were immediately frightened and hurriedly tried to explain. However, he didn't listen to our explanation at all and wanted to tie us up and take us to West Peak. We let that be, but kept foul-mouthing us, saying that those in Middle Peak were all losers and that we're useless. Originally, we wanted to endure it, but hearing what he said made us instantly furious. It's fine if he wronged us, but he actually dared to insult Middle Peak. Thus, we started arguing with him. We don't know if he's guilty or not, but he missed a step and slipped down a small hill. We thought that this matter would be settled, but unexpectedly, he actually called a deer a horse and slandered us for beating up law enforcement disciples. Everyone, don't you think he's bullying us too much? Although Yun Chuzi and the others cooperated with her and revealed an aggrieved and angry expression, their hearts felt as if thousands of divine beasts were whizzing past them. "Little Jiu, you really aren't human. Your lies are too smooth. If we weren't the parties involved, we would all think that what you said was true. Fuck. Those bastards from the West Peak are such bullies, aren't they? Are they bullying us for being nobodies? That's right. What's wrong with West Peak's law enforcement agency? What does it have to do with you guys if we eat a few rabbits that were killed by lightning? Could it be that the rabbits are your ancestors? Damn it. Why didn't you fall to your death? How dare they come to us and bite us back? Get lost." Yun Chujia's eyes lit up. Fuck, the people from Middle Peak are really to my liking. The scolding was too good and was so technical. She added fuel to the fire. "Senior brothers and sisters, we, the individuals from Middle Peak, are reasonable people. Don't listen to my words. Let Lu Qingzhen say something. Lu Qingzhen, tell me. Is what I said true?" Yun Chujio pointed at Lu Qingzhen, who was so angry that he almost passed out. Lu Qingzhen had already been helped up by someone. When he heard Yun Chujia's nonsense, he was so angry that he wanted to scold her. However, he was shocked to find that no matter how hard he tried to talk, he could not say a word. He was so furious that his face was red. However, he could not say a single word. Chapter 136, Really fucking useless. When everyone saw this, they were even more certain that what Yun Chujio said was true. Otherwise, why did Lu Qingzhen not say anything? He must be feeling guilty. Yun Chujio smiled contemptuously. Did everyone see that? What do you mean by staying speechless? This is what he meant. He didn't have any reason and still came to Middle Peak to act atrociously. He's really too much. He wants to bring us to West Peak's Law Enforcement Agency Hall. In order not to cause trouble for Middle Peak, we obediently followed him. It's just that he's too much of a bully. After Yun Chuzhou finished speaking, she jumped down from the big rock and walked to the side of Yun Chuzi and the others. She sighed. Brothers and sisters, let's follow them. The West Peaks Law Enforcement Agency isn't someone we can afford to offend. I didn't expect that in order to protect the Middle Peaks property, we would be backstabbed by Lu Qingzhen. We can only blame our bad luck. The disciples of the Middle Peak immediately exploded. Even those who had courage could not bear it all. The people of the West Peak were too much of a bully. This was a slap in the face to them. Damn it. Let's go. Well, go too. I don't believe that this Spirit Radiance sect doesn't have rules. Why does the West Peaks Law Enforcement Agency have the say-so? They can do whatever they want now. That's right. What right do they have to bully the people of Middle Peak? Besides, these 7 rookies have just entered the sect. How could they be so bold as to beat up the disciples of the Law Enforcement Agency? Well, they had already selectively forgotten about the matter of Yun Chuzhou kicking Lu Qingzhen. Let's go. Let's go. Well, I'll go with them. Didn't they say that Elder Xiao Pancher of the West Peak is the most impartial? We'd like to see how he handles this matter. Lu Qingzhen was so angry that he was trembling, but he could not say anything. The 2 people who were with him the day before did not follow him, so he could only glare at Yun Chuzhou. He was furious in his heart. Stupid girl, just you wait. When we reach the West Peak and have a witness, let's see how you'll defend yourself. Yun Chuzhou maintained a wronged look on her face. From time to time, she would even twitch a few times. Some of the female disciples of Middle Peak could not bear it anymore and kept comforting her. Junior sister, don't be afraid. The people of Middle Peak aren't easy to bully. That's right. We're not afraid of the shadow. If the law enforcement agency of the West Peak is unreasonable, we will not let it go. Yun Chuzhou suddenly burst into tears. Sob sob. You guys are really too kind. That's great. I, Yun Chuzhou, will be a member of Middle Peak in the future. If I die, there'll be a ghost of Middle Peak. If anyone dares to say bad things about our Middle Peak, it'll bite them to death. The more Yun Chuzhou talked, the more the disciples of the Middle Peak felt that Lu Qingzhen's crime was unforgivable. All of them gritted their teeth and stared at him, wishing they could go up and smite him. Lu Qingzhen was about to break down. According to common sense, these 7 odd-job workers should be trembling in fear and obediently following him. How did they make it such a big issue? He thought about it again. Humph. So what if they made it a big issue? There was no thunder and lightning yesterday. They were the ones who started the fire. The bigger the issue, the heavier the punishment would be for them. Yun Chuzhou tapped the copper basin with her spoon and began to sing, Little cabbage, yellow in the ground, poor child, bullied, wronged, wronged. Peach blossoms bloom, apricot blossoms fall, no one cares, a gust of wind, wronged, wronged. Yun Chujia's singing was very sincere, and Little Black on the side cried. It was really sad to hear, and one would tear just from listening. When everyone heard it, they all felt that Lu Qingzhen was really something. Chapter 137. No matter what time it was, there was no lack of spectators. Soon, there were more and more people behind Yun Chuzhou. Most of them were from Middle Peak, but there were also some from other areas. The spectators were curious to find out what was going on. Since Lu Qingzhen could not speak and the other members of the law enforcement team did not know the whole story, Yun Chuzhou patiently described the truth over and over again. After a few brainwashing sessions, even Yun Chuzi and the others felt that that was the truth. When the crowd heard what happened, they naturally could not help but scold Lu Qingzhen. In addition, the West Peak Law Enforcement Agency had offended a lot of people. Immediately, the crowd became excited. The few members of the law enforcement team were so scared that they did not dare to say a word. Finally, they reached the West Peak. Lu Qingzhen and the others heaved a sigh of relief. How arrogant could these people be when they reached their territory? The law enforcement agency on the West Peak was located halfway up the mountain. When the disciples of the law enforcement agency saw a huge crowd of people swarming over, they were shocked. What was the meaning of this? Why were there still people knocking on the basin and singing songs? Lu Qingzhen's face was purple with anger. He rushed into the law enforcement agency hall and found the manager, Qian Chong. He angrily gestured with his hands. Qian Chong had always been good to Lu Qingzhen. That day's law enforcement order was also issued by him. When he saw Lu Qingzhen in that condition, he could not help but feel puzzled. "Junior brother Lu, what's wrong with you? Say something." Lu Qingzhen was so anxious that he stomped his feet, but he still could not say a word. At that time, there was already an uproar outside the law enforcement agency. "Clear the name of our Middle Peak disciple. Clear the name of our Middle Peak disciple." Lu Qingzhen had gone too far. Kick that scum Lu Qingzhen out of the Spirit Radiance sect. Qian Chong was really a little dumbfounded. Did Lu Qingzhen not went out to arrest people? Why was he being chased out of the sect now? What was going on? Qian Chong quickly called the people who followed Lu Qingzhen over. After asking about the situation, he frowned. He did not know whether Yun Chujiu had done it intentionally or not, but she had actually caused a huge commotion. If he did not handle it well, it would definitely cause the dissatisfaction of Middle Peak. At that point, it was better to ask Elder Shao to handle it personally. Qian Chong rushed to the door and cupped his hands at the crowd. "Everyone, please don't jump to conclusions before the matter is fully investigated. I will go and..." Seeing Qian Chong being so polite, the crowd did not dare to say anything else, so they temporarily quieted down. Qian Chong did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly went to ask Elder Shao Pancher. "Elder Shao. Something has happened at the law enforcement agency." Qian Chong rushed to the outside of Elder Shao's courtyard and reported anxiously. "Something has happened. What happened?" Elder Shao quickly walked out of the courtyard. Qian Chong rambled on about what had happened. Elder Shao frowned and said with slight disgust, "Yesterday, I said that this Yun Chujiu was opportunistic and restless. Indeed, she has only entered the sect for 1 day and has already caused such a big incident. How naughty." "Elder Shao, why do you think junior brother Lu suddenly lost his voice?" Qian Chong was very puzzled. "Humph. That little girl has a lot of wicked ideas. She must have done something. This old man is not blind. Let's go and take a look." If what Lu Qingzhen said is true, this Yun Chujiu should indeed be expelled from the Spirit Radiance sect. Elder Shao said angrily as he walked. The two of them had yet to reach the law enforcement agency when they heard someone screaming non-stop. It was like the wailing of ghosts and howling of wolves. It was too horrible to listen to. Chapter 138, It Really Isn't My Fault. Elder Shao and Manager Qian hastened their steps. When the onlookers saw Elder Shao coming, they bowed and made way for him. Elder Shao snorted coldly and passed through the crowd. He saw a disciple lying on the ground, crying and rolling around. "Junior brother Lu." Manager Qian was shocked. "What are you guys standing there for? Hurry up and help junior brother Lu up." "Senior brother Qian." "Elder Shao." Lu Qingzhen's nose was full of snot and tears. "You must help me make a decision. This Yun Chujiu actually hit me in public. She's extremely arrogant." Manager Qian was stunned. "Junior brother Lu, you can speak now." Only then did Lu Qingzhen come to his senses. He pointed at Yun Chuzhou and shouted, "It must be this damned girl's doing. Elder Shao, you must drive this Yun Chuzhou out of the Spirit Radiance sect." Elder Shao looked at Yun Chuzhou unhappily. Looking at Yun Chuzhou's attire, he became even more displeased. She was such a good girl. Why was there a handkerchief wrapped around her head? She actually had two small tails. With one look, it was obvious that she was not well behaved. There was also a fire-breathing crow on her shoulder. That fire-breathing crow stared with its possessed eyes and opened and closed its mouth. No one knew what it was doing. It did not look likable. What kind of master would have a spiritual pet like that? In fact, the little black bird was secretly talking about making Elder Shao fall. Unfortunately, it did not work even after 8 times. Yun Chuzhou, how do you explain it? Let's not talk about what happened before. Why did you beat up a disciple of the law enforcement agency outside West Peak Law Enforcement Agency? Elder Shao asked unhappily with a sullen face. Yun Chuzhou glanced at Elder Shao. So this was the white trash man's backer. One look and you could tell that he's old-fashioned. Elder Shao, it's not that I want to beat up Lu Qingzhen, but he took the initiative to provoke and beat me up. I dodged a few times, but he was still aggressive. I accidentally touched him. In all conscience, I just touched him lightly, and he laid on the ground and cried like a ghost. This really isn't my fault. Nonsense. What nonsense? Why would Lu Qingzhen beat you for no reason? Elder Shao was very unhappy, and the pressure spread in all directions. The people present felt suffocated and very uncomfortable. Yun Chuzhou said calmly as if nothing had happened, "Elder Shao, if you don't believe me, you can ask the people here whether I'm lying." Elder Shao pointed at a disciple of the West Peak. "You. Tell me what happened just now. If you dare to lie." Ha! Under Elder Shao's pressure, that disciple did not dare to hide and told the truth about what happened just now. After Manager Qian left, Yun Chuzhou rolled her eyes and thought to herself. She pointed at Lu Qingzhen's mute acupoint. That Elder Shao might be able to find out. It was better for her to find a way to untie his acupoint. Lu Qingzhen, when Elder Shao comes later, I advise you to turn yourself in. Be lenient if you confess and be strict if you resist. Don't resist stubbornly and make mistakes again and again. Yun Chuzhou said with a sincere tone. Lu Qingzhen was already full of anger. Now that Yun Chuzhou said that, he was so angry that his eyes were red. Yun Chuzhou acted as if she did not see it and continued, "Lu Qingzhen, do you already know that you're wrong? Is that why you've been speechless? This shows that you still have some sense of shame. You're not too much of a bastard." Before Yun Chuzhou could finish her words, Lu Qingzhen jumped over and raised his hand to slap Yun Chuzhou's face. Yun Chuzhou turned to the side and said aggrievedly, "Lu Qingzhen, have you lost your mind? Everything I said was good." The more Yun Chuzhou talked, the angrier Lu Qingzhen became. He attacked Yun Chuzhou repeatedly. Just when the crowd was about to stop him, Yun Chuzhou seemed to have inadvertently bumped into Lu Qingzhen, and Lu Qingzhen fell to the ground. He started to cry like a ghost and howl like a wolf. Elder Shao asked a few more disciples. There was almost no difference in what he said. Elder Shao glared at Lu Qingzhen. That little girl was obviously trying to provoke him. This idiot actually went up and let someone beat him up. He deserved it. Elder Shao looked at Yun Chuzhou coldly. Let's not pursue this matter. What happened when you set the mountain on fire yesterday? The law enforcement team went to stop it, and you even hit someone. You're really lawless. According to the sect rules, you should be expelled from the sect. Chapter 139, Elder Shao, whose side are you on? Yun Chuzhou's side. Elder Shao, I don't know how Lu Qingzhen reported to you, but the truth is this, Yun Chujio repeated what she had said several times, and then asked with an aggrieved and innocent face, Elder Shao, everyone said that you're the most fair and impartial. You're not going to protect Lu Qingzhen, right? Elder Shao snorted, "I'll find out the truth. Even if you say all kinds of things, you must use facts to speak. I'll go to the back of the mountain at Middle Peak to see the truth. At that time, it'll be clear who is right and who is wrong." Yun Chujio rolled her eyes, "Elder Shao, you can't go alone. If you want to go, well, go together." Elder Shao said disdainfully, "Do you think he'll cheat? Fine. Since that's the case, all of you will go with me." Therefore, Elder Shao walked in front, followed by Yun Chujio who kept nagging, and by Lu Qingzhen and the people from the law enforcement agency, and lastly, the onlookers. Lu Qingzhen was so depressed that he vomited blood. He was the plaintiff. He was the plaintiff. He was the plaintiff. Why did that wretched girl always follow behind Elder Shao? It felt like he was the defendant. Yun Chujio did not have that kind of self-awareness. Elder Shao's cold air was useless to her. She just babbled to Elder Shao on her own, from the white scum of Yi City to Lu Qingzhen twisting the situation. Elder Shao sneered and did not believe a single word. He felt that Yun Chujio was a little scoundrel. Yun Chujio had a little plan in her heart. It did not matter if he did not listen to her. There were still so many people behind her. She had to occupy this public opinion position at all times and places. Moreover, she would follow you at any time to prevent you from playing tricks. Who knew if you would make a confession with that Lu Qingzhen? This was what she meant by being careful. Elder Shao really could not stand Yun Chujio's behavior of reciting scriptures, so he simply released his mount from his spiritual beast bag. When everyone saw Elder Shao's spirit beast, they could not help but exclaim in admiration. Heavens! It's a Tier 8 gold-spotted scarlet flame tiger. Tier 8? My goodness! That's equivalent to the 9th level of the Spirit Cultivator realm. 9th level of Spirit Cultivator realm? That's really awesome. There aren't many inner sect disciples who have reached the 5th level of the Spirit Cultivator realm. That gold-spotted scarlet flame tiger had already gained sentience a long time ago. When it heard everyone's praise, it wagged its tail proudly. Yun Chujio was thinking, I haven't eaten tiger meat before. I wonder if the tiger meat is delicious. She heard that the butt of a tiger could not be touched, so she really wanted to touch it. Yun Chujio was surprisingly bold. When Elder Shao jumped onto the back of the tiger, she also jumped up shamelessly. She grabbed the tiger fur on the back of the tiger and said, Elder Shao, I'm still young and have no spiritual power. Please pity me and take me with you. I know you'll not refuse. You're such an upright person. You always help the weak. Elder Shao tried his luck and finally resisted the idea of pulling Yun Chujio off the tiger's back. He said coldly, sit down and shut up. Yun Chujio nodded obediently and said, okay, I promise I won't say anything. Elder Shao rode the scarlet flame tiger because he did not want to hear Yun Chujio talking. Now that his ears were finally quiet, he turned a blind eye to Yun Chujio's carpooling behavior. Yun Chujio sat on the tiger's back, her calves swaying happily. From time to time, she would turn around and make a face at Lu Qingzhen. Lu Qingzhen was so depressed when he saw this situation that he wanted to hit his head against the wall. Elder Shao, whose side are you on? Elder Shao, what happened to being impartial and being a black-faced judge? No matter how you look at it, it feels like you are the help that this wretched girl brought. Chapter 140, Plucked a handful of tiger fur. Yun Chujio resisted the urge to touch the tiger's buttocks and secretly plucked a handful of tiger fur. This thing should be quite good as a writing brush. The gold-spotted scarlet flame tiger shivered in pain. Although it had gained intelligence, it was only limited to expressing vague emotions. Elder Shao thought that the tiger was unhappy because there was an extra person sitting on its body, so he ignored it. Little did he know that the guy sitting behind him not only wanted to eat tiger meat, but also plucked a bunch of tiger fur. The crowd arrived at the back mountain of Middle Peak. Elder Shao jumped off the tiger's back and returned it into his spiritual beast bag. Lu Qingzhen courageously squeezed his way to Elder Shao's side. Elder Shao, the crime scene is right in front of us. I'll lead the way for you. Yesterday, Yun Chujio and the others made a fire to roast a rabbit to eat. I tried to persuade them, but she kicked me. It's this slope. I rolled down from it. Lu Qingzhen said as he glared fiercely at Yun Chujio. Damn girl, when we reach the place, you'll see how you're going to defend yourself. At that moment, everyone smelled a burnt smell. It was really difficult to determine where it came from. Yun Chuzi and the others were anxious. They did not know what little Jiu did the day before. She was clearly making a fire to roast rabbits. How could Elder Shao not see through it? There really was a lighting the day before. Could it have coincidentally struck the area they were at? Lu Qingzhen caught a glimpse of the expressions of Yun Chuzi and the others. He felt proud in his heart. One look at their expressions and he could tell that they were guilty. Humph, smelly girl. Qinghua had already set up an ambush. As long as you're driven out of the Spirit Radiance sect, the men would immediately be killed and the women would be sold to the banquet hall to be used as cauldrons. Lu Qingzhen walked hastily. He quickly arrived at the place where Yun Chujio and the others had roasted the rabbits. Elder Shao, this is the place. Look, is this struck by lightning? Lu Qingzhen's smug expression instantly froze. He saw that the ground was filled with branches and tree trunks that had been struck by lightning. There were also some rabbit bones on them, and there were also traces of lightning strikes on some of the trees beside them. Yun Chuzi and the others were just as surprised as Lu Qingzhen. Could it be that they were really that lucky? Was the heavenly thunder really so coincidental to help them? Elder Shao. Everyone. I think I don't need to say much after seeing this scene, right? The 7 of us put out the mountain fire on an empty stomach. It's fine that we didn't receive any rewards, but we were actually bitten by a villain. Oh right, maybe I'm overthinking things. When we participated in the entrance test yesterday, we eliminated a person named Lu Qinghua. Not only is his name similar to Lu Qingzhen's, even his looks are similar. Yun Chujio stopped talking at this point. Sometimes, half a sentence allowed more space for imagination. Sure enough, after listening to Yun Chujio's words, everyone thought about it. With the evidence that they knew, Lu Qingzhen and Lu Qinghua really had a relationship. Lu Qingzhen was Lu Qinghua's cousin. Instantly, the sense of justice of the bystanders exploded. Elder Shao, Lu Qingzhen is obviously framing him. Yes. He's using the public office to seek personal revenge. He has ulterior motives. We must punish him severely. Otherwise, where is the prestige of the law enforcement team? Yes. We must punish him severely. Lu Qingzhen is not a human. Expel Lu Qingzhen, this scum, from our Spirit Radiance sect. We don't want to be fellow disciples with such a person. Elder Shao snorted coldly and radiated a coercive aura. Everyone immediately quieted down and did not dare to say anything else. Lu Qingzhen framed his fellow disciples and used public office to take revenge for his own personal grudge. His influence is vile, and he has crippled his cultivation. From today onward, he will be expelled from the Spirit Radiance sect. Elder Shao looked deeply at Yun Chujio and continued, Yun Chujio and the other 7 protectors have done a meritorious deed. Each of them will be rewarded with 5 spirit stones. Chapter 141, Isn't it just a name? After hearing Elder Shao's decision, Lu Qingzhen's eyes rolled to the back and he fainted. Everyone cheered and praised Elder Shao for being fair. They even lamented that good versus evil would be rewarded in the end. Yun Chuzi and the others had mixed feelings in their hearts. If it was not for little Jiu being vigilant this time, they would definitely have been expelled from the sect. They must learn more from little Jiu in the future. As for Yun Chujiu, this fellow was actually secretly ridiculing them. This Elder Shao is really fucking stingy. He's only giving us 5 spirit stones. Before Elder Shao left, he gave Yun Chujiu a deep look and said, "Take good care of yourself." Then, he rode off and left. Good my ass. Tui. If it was not for the fact that this young lady was extremely intelligent, would she not have been chased out of the Spirit Radiance sect by an old fogey like him? Yun Chujiu bowed deeply to everyone. Senior brothers and sisters, it's all thanks to everyone for upholding justice for us today. If it weren't for all of you, we might really been wronged. In terms of spiritual power, everyone here is stronger than us, and we don't have any great abilities either. However, when everyone comes to the cafeteria to eat, we will definitely do our best to help everyone. Yun Chujia's words unobtrusively flattered everyone, and then she expressed her gratitude from the bottom of her heart. When everyone heard this, their hearts were full and they all expressed that their actions were chivalrous and did not seek anything in return. Yun Chujiu was escorted back to the cafeteria. It was lunchtime and the cafeteria was filled with people. After the onlookers entered, they began to ramble on and on about the incident. Those disciples who did not go felt regretful. They had actually missed such a wonderful show. However, these servants had really brought pride to Middle Peak. What they did was equivalent to slapping the West Peak Law Enforcement Agency in the face. Therefore, when it was time for dinner, many disciples started to pay attention to Yun Chujiu and the others. When they saw Yun Chujia's shabby appearance, they felt a little pity and sympathy for her. Word spread like wildfire. Soon, almost everyone in the Spirit Radiance sect heard about this matter. Yun Chujiu and the others immediately became famous, especially because Yun Chujiu herself was too discerning. She was the youngest, the tankiest, and a good-for-nothing without any spiritual power. She even had a weird-looking handkerchief wrapped around her head and 2 small tails behind her head. Plus, she also had a fire-breathing crow as her spiritual pet. In the next few days, there were obviously many more people who came to the Middle Peak cafeteria for dinner than usual. Most of them were there to see Yun Chujiu. Yun Chujiu did not mind. She could just watch. After all, she would not lose a piece of meat if she did. During dinner that day, there was commotion in the cafeteria. It was among the female disciples. All of them looked at a person with watery eyes. That person walked over to Yun Chujiu, who was serving the dishes. "Junior sister Little Jiu, can we talk outside for a moment?" Yun Chujiu looked up and saw that it was Feng Ming. It was all thanks to him that she was able to enter the Spirit Radiance sect. Therefore, Yun Chujiu smiled very brightly. "Senior brother Feng Ming, long time no see." Yun Chujiu greeted Elder Huang and followed Feng Ming out of the cafeteria. "Little girl, I didn't expect that after a few days of not seeing you, you would become famous in the Spirit Radiance sect," Feng Ming said with some ridicule. Yun Chujiu laughed dryly. "Sorry for making you laugh. What famous person? Isn't it just a person's name?" Feng Ming listened to Yun Chujiu's interesting words and started chatting with Yun Chujiu. Yun Chujiu also felt that Feng Ming was experienced and knowledgeable. It was rare that he did not put on airs, so the more they chatted, the happier they became. In the end, Feng Ming even curiously touched the 2 little tails behind Yun Chujiu's head. As soon as Feng Ming touched it, he felt his scalp go numb. His body was catapulted outside and it fell to the ground in a sorry state. Chapter 142, Gigolo, Get the hell out of here. Yun Chujiu was shocked. "Senior brother Feng Ming, what happened to you?" Feng Ming was stunned. Fuck. The image that he had maintained for so many years was ruined. Who was the one plotting against him? Feng Ming looked around. There were only a few disciples whispering to each other. There was no one suspicious at all. Ah, I've been practicing a spell recently. I made a mistake just now. Junior sister Little Jiu, this is a small snack I brought back from the outside. Take it back and eat it. Feng Ming jumped up and pretended to be calm. He handed a few paper bags to Yun Chujiu. When Yun Chujiu heard that there was food, she immediately beamed with joy. Thank you, senior brother Feng Ming. Well, then I'll leave first. I'll come and see you another day. Feng Ming always felt that his scalp was a little hairy. He had a feeling that he was being targeted by an almighty. After saying that, he left in a hurry. Yun Chujiu waved her hand at Feng Ming and said sweetly, Senior brother Feng Ming, come and see me often in the future. Feng Ming felt as if his back was being pricked by needles. He answered vaguely and ran even faster. Yun Chujiu shook her head in puzzlement. It was really strange. Could it be that senior brother Feng Ming was in a hurry to go to the toilet? How could he run so fast? Yun Chujiu returned to the kitchen and some female disciples came up to her. Junior sister Little Jiu, why is senior brother Feng Ming looking for you? Yun Chujiu quickly caught the envy and jealousy in the eyes of those female disciples. She smiled and said, Ah, it's nothing. Senior brother Feng Ming said that although I have protected Middle Peak's property, I shouldn't be arrogant and complacent, and I should learn from my senior brothers and sisters. He even mentioned a few names. The eyes of the female disciples immediately lit up, and they looked at Yun Chujiu expectantly. Whose names did senior brother Feng Ming mention? Yun Chujiu counted with her fingers and told almost all the female inner sect disciples that she knew. When the outer sect female disciples heard it, they immediately became dispirited and scattered. Yun Chujiu smiled, hopped around, and asked Yun Chuzi to put away the oil paper bag. Then, she carried on with her work. After finishing her work, Yun Chujiu shared the snacks in the oil paper bag with everyone. Then, she took her share and hopped back to her own yard while humming a little tune. As soon as she entered the yard, Yun Chujiu felt her hair standing on its end. Her heart skipped a beat and she was about to run out. Get in here. If you dare to run, I'll break your legs. An angry shout came from inside the house. Yun Chujiu closed her eyes and took a deep breath. A bright smile instantly appeared on her face. Ah, so it's you, my Prince Charming. I'll go in now. How do you want me to approach you? Do you want me to do it politely, or shall I enter ravishingly? A cold snort came from inside the house. Black thing. If you continue to dawdle, I'll tear your house down. Yun Chujiu cursed the gigolo in her heart more than 100 times and ran all the way into the house. Yun Chujiu entered the house and saw Di Baiming sitting on the chair with a gloomy face, staring at her with his dead eyes. You're finally willing to come home? Are you that greedy? Are you that worthless? Are you shameless just to get some food? Di Baiming recalled the scene he saw earlier and was burning with anger. He wanted to strangle that gigolo to death. Yun Chujiu was stunned at first, then she threw the paper bag in her hand at Di Baiming. Gigolo! I've tolerated you for a long time. Who are you calling worthless? Who are you calling shameless? Get out! Yun Chujiu had always been a big-hearted person and did not care what others said. However, for some reason, when she heard Di Baiming's words, her heart blazed like hellfire. If she did not vent her anger, she would go crazy. Chapter 143, Did not return home at night. Di Baiming turned his body sideways to avoid the oil paper bag. Then, he looked at Yun Chujiu, who was as angry as a little lion. He was dumbfounded. Yun Chujiu was obviously blinded by anger. She grabbed Di Baiming's collar and said, Get out. Get out of here. Yun Chujiu used all her strength, but she could not move Di Baiming even a little. Instead, she almost fell into Di Baiming's arms. "You're not going to get lost, are you?" "Fine. If you're not going to get lost, I will." Yun Chujio ran out of the house angrily. She slammed the door and ran out of the courtyard. Little Black, who had been worried all this time, quickly flew down from the tree at the courtyard and escaped with Yun Chujio. Anfeng and Anin, who were keeping watch in the dark, looked at each other. What was going on? Why did the ninth miss run out on her own? Why did she look so furious? Where was His Excellency? After a while, the sound of something breaking could be heard from inside the room. TSK. Anin, I think His Excellency and the ninth miss were quarreling. Yes. He must be jealous. When he saw that gigolo touching the ninth miss head, the cold air from him almost froze me to death. If it weren't for the quality of the invisibility talisman, I would have been discovered by others. Yes. Our Lord is also a fool. He said that Miss Gio was angry, so he should have coaxed her. He unexpectedly took it out on his thing. TSK, how worrying. Yes. Damn, Anin. Can't you say anything else aside from yes? Yes. Anfeng was speechless. Yun Chujio left the courtyard angrily. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. Little Black, do you think that gigolo is unreasonable? He actually said that I'm not worth anything and that I'm shameless. PFTT. He's the shameless one. How many opportunities have I presented to him? How many meals has he eaten from me? He's worthless. He's the shameless one. Master, you're right. That gigolo is the worst. The little black bird was still holding a grudge against Di Baiming for throwing it out. The two masters' pets secretly scolded Di Baiming. Then, Little Black asked weakly, Master, that gigolo won't settle scores later, right? He won't strangle us to death, right? Humph. He still has to drink my blood. He won't kill me. If he wants to kill me, he would have done so just now. Let's go. We'll stay at Fifth Sister's place today. Yun Chujio said confidently. In fact, she was a little afraid. Impulse was the devil. Why did she not hold back? She hoped that the gigolo would not go rogue. She had not lived long enough. Yun Chujio brought the little black bird to Yun Chua's courtyard. Yun Chua was very puzzled. Little Jiu, do you need me for something? Fifth sister, I miss you. I'll sleep over with you tonight. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Although Yun Chua was a little surprised, she did not care too much. Little Jiu was still young after all. Perhaps she was not used to living on her own, so the two sisters simply washed up and chatted for a while before resting. Yun Chujio, this heartless person, had already fallen asleep. Di Baiming was hopping around madly in the room. Good. Very good. You black thing. You actually aren't coming home tonight. Di Baiming wanted to find Yun Chujio, but as soon as he got up, he felt dizzy and spat out a mouthful of blood. He fainted on the ground with a bang. Outside, Anfeng and Anin heard something amiss and rushed into the house. Your Excellency. Your Excellency. Anin quickly took out a porcelain bottle from his storage ring, poured out a pill, and stuffed it into Di Baiming's mouth. Anin, what's going on? Why did our Excellency suffer such a serious internal injury? Anfeng suddenly lost his usual disregard, and his eyes were filled with hostility. Chapter 144, Liar, could it be that that person has also come to Qingxian continent? Besides him, I really can't think of anyone else who could injure our revered sir so badly. Anfeng's expression froze. Anin nodded. Yes, but he didn't gain any benefits either. His injury is even worse than our revered sir's. Humph. Our revered sir is too honest. If he was as calculative as the ninth miss, he would have already dealt with that person. Right, I'll go look for the ninth miss. Perhaps her blood would be beneficial to our revered sir's injury. And Feng turned around and ran to Yun Chua's courtyard after he finished speaking. He knocked on the door a few times. Miss Jiu, your master is here. He wants to see you. Yun Chujiu and Yun Chu were startled awake. Yun Chu was a little confused. Little Jiu, why is your master here? Isn't there someone guarding the Spirit Radiance Sect's mountain gate? Yun Chujiu gritted her teeth secretly. It must be the gigolo who sent An Feng to capture her. She would not fall for his trick. An Feng, the first courtyard on the left is my courtyard. Let master rest at my place for a night. I'll see him tomorrow morning. Miss Jiu, your master is seriously injured. If you don't go over, I'm afraid you won't be able to see him anymore. An Feng tried really hard to get Yun Chujiu back. Yun Chujiu curled her lips. Who the fuck are you lying to? That gigolo had just scolded me just now. How did he get seriously injured in such a short time? Seriously injured my ass. However, Yun Chu was shocked. Little Jiu, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and go take a look. I'll go with you. Seeing how worried Yun Chu was, Yun Chujiu could only say, Fifth sister, I'll go take a look. You don't have to go. My master has an ugly appearance and a strange temper. He also has epilepsy once in a while, so he can't meet outsiders. Outside, An Feng staggered. Miss Jiu, you're blatantly slandering our honored master. How could our honored master have an ugly appearance? Although his temper isn't that great, it can't be said that he has epilepsy, right? Besides, fifth sister, my master and the others sneaked into the Spirit Radiance sect. If they're discovered, it would be a great crime. The fewer people know, the better. Seeing that Yun Chujiu was insistent, Yun Chu could only give up and repeatedly remind her not to disobey her master, and that she must be more careful. Yun Chujiu obediently nodded her head and agreed. She put on her coat and left the house. Little Jiu rolled her eyes. Master, are they trying to trick us into going back? To kill us, silence us, and destroy the evidence. Humph. What's there to be afraid of? If worst comes to worst, I'll just kneel down and beg for mercy. Anyway, he said that I'm shameless. Yun Chujiu said indifferently. Little Black was speechless. Master, you really don't have any moral integrity. Yun Chujiu glanced at An Feng. Did the gigolo ask you to get me back? Gigolo? An Feng was stunned for a moment before he realized that Yun Chujiu was referring to their master. He almost knelt down for Yun Chujiu. My ninth miss, no wonder your esteemed self was so angry. You actually dared to call His Excellency a gigolo. His Excellency didn't strangle you on the spot all thanks to your ancestors. That. Ninth miss, don't use this title in the future. Otherwise, His Excellence won't be able to control his temper every time. An Feng felt that it was better to remind Yun Chujiu. Humph. That person told you to lie to me to get me back. Yun Chujiu decided to sideline the term Prince Charming. Pfft. Only that annoying person was not worthy of the term Prince Charming. That person. Ah. His Excellency is indeed seriously injured. It was already very serious. If he was angered by you again, he would have vomited blood. Otherwise, our Lord would have personally come to invite you back. An Feng decided to put in a good word for His Excellency. Chapter 145, Fell asleep, I angered him till he vomited blood. Do you think that he is Zhou Yu, and I am Zhuge Liang? He vomited blood because of me. If I could make him vomit blood by angering him, I would have thought of a way to piss him to death. Yun Chujiu rolled her eyes. And Feng might not understand who Zhou Yu and Zhuge Liang were, but he could still understand death. His expression was a little unhappy, but it made sense. No matter who was publicly cursed at their master's death, they would not be happy. Yun Chujiu coughed dryly. About that, I was just joking. Your master can live for at least 10,000 years. Humph. That's right, that gigolo was a tortoise that could live for 10,000 years. And Feng then continued, Miss Jiu, our lord was injured by someone. An Yin had fed him a pill just now, but he's still unconscious. Injured by someone? Who is so brave, Who is so bold to hit him? Yun Chujiu stuck out her tongue. Damn, she almost spoke her mind again. And Feng's eyes twitched. He is a sworn enemy of our revered sir. As they spoke, the two of them had already arrived at Yun Chujiu's courtyard. They pushed open the door and entered the house. An Yin bowed to Yun Chujiu and handed her a dagger. Yun Chujiu immediately jumped away. What do you mean? Does he want me to commit suicide? An Yin was stunned. Miss Jiu, didn't An Feng tell you? His Excellency's injuries are very serious. I hope that you can feed some of your blood to His Excellency. An Feng scratched his head. Yun Chujiu had brought up the topic and he had forgotten to talk about business. You two head out. I'll take care of him. Yun Chujiu blinked her eyes. Was this the gigolo's new trick to torture her? An Feng remembered what Yun Chujiu had said. He said seriously, Miss Jiu, no matter what His Excellency has done to you previously, he has absolutely no intention of killing you. Moreover, His Excellency holds you in high regard, and he hopes that you will not do anything rash. Moreover, you still have the Yun family behind you. Yun Chujiu sneered, are you afraid that I'll kill him? Are you threatening me with the Yun family? If that's the case, then I'll go back. You can deal with it yourselves. An Feng smiled. Miss Jiu, I'm just guarding against the unexpected. I believe that you'll make the best choice. After saying that, An Feng signaled An Yin with his eyes, and the two of them closed the door and left. Yun Chujiu cursed in a low voice, what kind of master raises these kinds of underlings? They are all bad people. How dare they threaten me? An Feng, just you wait. I'll get my revenge sooner or later. Hey, stop pretending. Tell me, how do you want to torture me? Yun Chujiu turned around and said to Di Baiming, who was lying on the bed. After waiting for a long time, there was no movement at all. Yun Chujiu cupped her chin. Could it be true? Was the gigolo really unconscious? Yun Chujiu took small steps to the front of the bed and saw Di Baiming lying on his back. His eyes were tightly shut and his face was pale. Yun Chujiu's heart froze. Was he really injured? Yun Chujiu put her hand on Di Baiming's pulse to check. She frowned. He was really suffering from serious internal injuries. Who was so powerful that he could beat this pervert to such a state? Yun Chujiu picked up the dagger and cut her arm. Then, she used her right hand to open Di Baiming's mouth and let the blood slowly drip in. Hiss, damn it. It really hurts. This will be the reward for the cultivation technique you gave me. Yun Chujiu bared her teeth and fed Di Baiming more than 10 drops of blood. Di Baiming's face slowly turned from pale to red. Yun Chujiu could not help but complain. It seemed that her blood really had a miraculous effect on the gigolo. When Yun Chujiu saw that Di Baiming was fine, this big-hearted girl took a handkerchief to tie the wound. Then, she yawned and blew out the candle. She walked past Di Baiming and fell asleep on the side of the bed. Chapter 146, The Gigolo Wants to Settle Scores in His Sleep. Di Baiming felt that his limbs were tightly wrapped by an 8-clawed demonic fish. He was suddenly startled awake. Di Baiming opened his eyes and could not help but be in a trance. Although he did not light a candle, the moon was very bright that night and the room was well lit. He saw Yun Chujio resting one arm on his chest and one leg on his leg. She was sleeping soundly. Saliva dripped from the corner of her mouth and she smacked her lips from time to time. The corner of Di Biming's eyes twitched and he said in a low voice, "So ugly." Di Biming glanced at the handkerchief wrapped around Yun Chujio's arm. There were faint traces of blood on it and he immediately figured the whole story. Di Biming's heart felt warm. The anger from before instantly dissipated. The black thing still cares about me. Those words from before must have been angry words. I will not lower myself to her level. Di Biming carefully moved Yun Chujio's arms and legs away, and then stretched out his arms to wrap them around Yun Chujio's waist. He raised his eyebrows slightly. Black thing, seeing that you're treating my injuries, I'll reluctantly hug you. Black thing is really too thin, she should be well nourished. This thought flashed through Di Biming's mind before he fell asleep. Wake up. Wake up. Let's go to work. Along with the sound of the bell, old Huang's energetic voice sounded. Yun Chujio frowned and mumbled, "It's so annoying. I have to wake up so early every day." Looking at the handsome face in front of her, Yun Chujio almost choked on her own saliva. Some scenes from the day before flashed through Yun Chujio's mind quickly. Then, her gaze fell on Di Biming's arm who was holding onto her waist. Yun Chujio carefully shouted, "Prince Charming. Prince Charming." This guy had long forgotten what she said yesterday. For her life, not only would she call him Prince Charming, she could even call him Ancestor. Di Biming did not react at all. He even lifted one of his legs and put it on Yun Chujio's body. Yun Chujio was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She really wanted to kick this gigolo down but... Ugh! She did not dare. Prince Charming. Prince Charming. Yun Chujio called out a few more times but Di Biming still did not respond. Yun Chujio could only rely on her courage to carefully move Di Biming's arm down, and then move her leg down again. Just when she was relieved, Di Biming stretched out his arm again and wrapped it around Yun Chujio's waist. Yun Chujio could only carefully move away again, but she did not expect Di Biming to press his leg up on her again. After a few times, Yun Chujio was furious. This gigolo must have done it on purpose. Even if he was a dead man, he should have woken up by then. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and said sneakily, "Forget it. At worst, I just won't go to work. I can't let go of such a good opportunity today. TSK, this body of my Prince Charming is really too fantastic. I didn't get to see enough last time. This time I can take off his clothes and have a good look." Yun Chujio stretched out her claws to take off Di Biming's clothes. Di Biming's eyelashes trembled. He opened his eyes and said in astonishment, "Black thing. How did you climb onto my bed? Get out. Prince Charming, you're wrong. I almost died from blood loss last night because of you. You don't even thank me and want me to get out. You won't have any friends like this." Yun Chujio pointed at her left arm. "Died because of you? If you didn't make me so angry that I vomited blood, why would I faint?" Di Biming recalled what happened last night and frowned. Yun Chujio almost gave herself a big slap. It was over. The gigolo was going to get even. Di Biming sat up and stared at Yun Chujio gloomily. "You said I was a gigolo yesterday. And you said I was worthless and shameless. And you asked me to get lost? Chapter 147, Children's Words Carry No Harm. Yun Chujio laughed dryly. Prince Charming, children's words carry no harm. The corner of Di Biming's eyes twitched. Children's words. You are really thick-skinned. That's right, I'm still young. Of course, what I said is considered children's words. Yun Chujio nonchalantly pretended to be young. A 14-year-old was a proper teenager in modern times. Di Biming originally did not intend to pursue the matter from the previous night. Seeing Yun Chujius gag, he took the opportunity and said, "Humph. This venerable self is magnanimous and will spare you this time. If there's a next time, this venerable self will not spare you." Yun Chujio heaved a sigh of relief in her heart and said fawningly, "A male god is indeed a male god. I'm going to go to work now. When you leave, close the courtyard door properly. Be careful not to be discovered." The corners of Di Biming's mouth curled up and he lay back on the pillow. "Who said I'm leaving? I'm going to stay in the Linghua faction for a period of time. Although your house is small and shabby, it doesn't attract any attention. I'll just stay here for now." "What? You're not leaving?" Yun Chujio cried out and almost jumped up from the bed. "What? Don't you welcome me?" Di Biming stared at Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio forced a smile. No. Why wouldn't I? I can't wait to see you every day. I'm too happy. Yes, I'm too excited." "That's good. If you don't welcome me, just say it." "I won't stay." Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. "Damn it, do I dare to say it? If I do, this damn gigolo would strangle me to death." "Then, Prince Charming, you take care of your own safety. I'll go to work now." Yun Chujio climbed out of bed and put on her shoes as she said carefully. "This is for you. Don't eat the thing that bird gave you." Di Biming took out a fruit from his storage ring. Yun Chujia's eyes lit up. It was the same kind of spiritual fruit that she ate last time. She immediately beamed and said, "Thank you, Prince Charming. You're too kind." Yun Chujio ate the fruit in a few bites and hopped out of the house. When she was outside, Yun Chujio only remembered the last sentence that Di Biming had just said. "Bird? A bird gave her something? Fuck." The gigolo's mouth was too mean. He meant that Feng Ming was a bird. No wonder senior brother Feng Ming fell for no reason yesterday. It was the gigolo's doing. Yun Chujio shook her head. This gigolo was having a seizure. He gave her cultivation techniques and fruits when he was happy, and wanted to kill her when he was unhappy. What a lunatic. An Feng and an Yin saw Yun Chujio coming out and came over to salute. Yun Chujio curled her lips and threw the fruit core away. "Forget it. I'm not worthy of your salute. Yesterday, you even threatened me with the Yun family." An Feng chuckled. "Miss Jiu, things are urgent. I was also anxious because I was afraid that you would regret it in the future if you acted rashly. Our esteemed sir is a man who is hard to find in this universe. Don't lose him. Hide well and don't drag me into it. It wasn't easy for me to enter the Spirit Radiance sect. I don't want to be chased out the moment I enter." Yun Chujio thought to herself. Hard to find in the universe. I don't want him even if you gave him to me for free. What the heck? He's mental. An Feng said proudly, "Miss Jiu, don't worry about this. Unless the Spirit Radiance sect's sect master and elders pay attention to this courtyard, there won't be any problems." "That's good. I'm going to work now. You guys watch the house for me obediently." Yun Chujio put her hands behind her back and walked away in a smug manner. Humph. She would just take it as having 3 house dogs. Ha ha ha. Chapter 148, Men and Women Dining Together is not tiring. When Yun Chujio arrived at the dining hall, Yun Chu immediately came over and asked in a low voice, "Little Jiu, how's your master?" "He's fine. He's already gone. My master likes to be mysterious. It wasn't a serious injury in the first place," Yun Chujio said nonchalantly. When Yun Chu heard this, she was finally relieved. She returned to her post and began to wash the vegetables. After a few days, Yun Chujio had become very familiar with the people in the big kitchen, especially the few people in charge of the fire. Seeing that Yun Chujio was young, they let her take charge of only one pit. Yun Chujio slowly started the fire. She was thinking that her house would be occupied by the gigolo. For the next few days, she would go to fifth sister and the others to take turns living there. She did not believe that the gigolo would have the nerve to try and force her back. Yes, that's right. Let's do it. After finishing work that day, Yun Chujio held Yun Choa's arm and said sweetly, "Fifth sister, I'll sleep over with you today." Yun Cho also wanted to ask Yun Chujio about her master in detail, so she agreed readily. Yun Chujio thought proudly in her heart. "Gigolo, you can be my watchdog." "Humph. I can't afford to fight and hide." Just as Yun Chujio arrived at Yun Choa's door, Little Black flapped its short wings and flew over. "Master! Master!" The gigolo said that if you don't go back within 15 minutes, he will smash this row of houses into pieces. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth in anger. "Damn gigolo! Alright, you were the one who told me to go back. Don't regret it when the time comes. Fifth sister, I've thought about it. I think I'd better go back to my own place. I'll come back to your place another day." Yun Chu sighed. "Alright. Truly acting like a child. Always thinking out loud." Yun Chujio thought to herself, "Fifth sister, it's not that I'm always thinking out loud. It's that damn gigolo who's always thinking out loud." Yun Chujio thought of an idea as she walked. She would definitely torture the gigolo. Yun Chujio did not knock on the door and entered the house casually. She saw that the broken pieces of the original table in the house were gone, and a brand new table was placed on it. There were 8 dishes on it, and Di Biming was eating slowly with his chopsticks. The 8 dishes were all delicious. Yun Chujio immediately forgot about the idea she had previously thought of. She said shamelessly, "Idol, do you feel lonely and cold eating alone?" Di Biming looked at her and said, "Go out and call an Fong and an Een to come in and eat with me." Yun Chujio's face stiffened and she rubbed her hands with a dry smile. "Idol, as the saying goes, men and women go together. It's not tiring to eat. Let me accompany you. Don't call on them. They still need to be on guard. Men and women go together, and it was not tiring to eat." Di Biming almost spat out the rice in his mouth. Di Biming coughed dryly. I feel like I don't have the appetite to eat after seeing you." Yun Chujio was so angry that she rolled her eyes. "Fuck. You fucking see that I don't have the appetite, so why did you call me back so eagerly? This gigolo really doesn't have any good intentions. He is torturing me with delicious food." Di Biming saw that Yun Chujio was so angry that she was twitching. The corner of his mouth curled up. "Shouldn't you have already eaten your dinner at the big kitchen? Can you still eat?" Yun Chujio's eyes lit up. "Yes. I can. I'm not full to begin with." "Okay. Then let's eat together." Yun Chujio immediately smiled like a flower. "Prince Charming, you're such a good person." Di Biming took out a pair of bowls and chopsticks from his storage ring and handed it to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio decided to scrap the previous bad idea. There was still something to be said for a gigolo. Chapter 149. Indeed, a nouveau riche. Yun Chujio could not wait to pick up a piece of food and put it into her mouth. Then, her eyes narrowed into slits as she wolfed down the food. Di Biming put down his chopsticks after a few mouthfuls. Seeing that Yun Chujio was enjoying the food, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. If he continued to feed the black thing like this, it would definitely gain weight. When the time came, he would not have to hug it anymore. Yun Chujio did not know about Di Biming's fattening up plan. The taste of the meal was really too good. It was 100 times better than the food cooked in the big kitchen. In the end, when she could not eat anymore, she reluctantly put down her chopsticks. At that moment, she was thinking, sigh, it would be great if I could use the storage bag publicly. Then, I could save these leftovers for tomorrow's meal. Di Biming saw that Yun Chuzhou had finished eating. He waved his hand and the leftovers on the table disappeared. Then, there was an exquisite small teapot and 2 small teacups on the table. Prince Charming, how did you know that I was thirsty? You're so considerate. You're the most generous person that I've ever met. Yun Chuzhou had food and drink, and her small mouth was full of compliments. Di Biming barely managed to control the corner of his mouth that kept rising. He nodded lightly and began to savor the tea. Yun Chuzhou was like a cow chewing on a peony. She tried the tea to see that it was not hot and drank it in one gulp. Then, she poured herself 1 cup after another. After pouring a few cups, Yun Chuzhou's eyes lit up. Prince Charming, how can your teapot be so good at storing tea? After pouring so many cups, the flavor of the tea is still so robust. Di Biming saw that Yun Chuzhou's eyes were sparkling, and the little tail on the back of her head was trembling. His heart inexplicably felt weak. He smiled and said, this is the heaven and earth teapot. It actually has a big space cloaked in this small item. A rich man. Indeed a rich man. Too rich. Yun Chuzhou said enviously, Prince Charming, you're really too rich. Not only do you have a storage ring, you even have a teapot that can store things. Sigh, unlike me. I have a low-level broken storage bag that I can't use publicly. Di Biming raised his eyebrows, why can't you use it publicly? Prince Charming, didn't you tell me? I'm at level 3 of the spirit cultivator realm. I can't let anyone know that I can release my spiritual power. I remember everything you said. That's why I didn't dare to say that I can use my storage bag, so I left it with my 4th brother. Yun Chuzhou seamlessly expressed her loyalty. As expected, when Di Biming heard that Yun Chuzhou was so obedient, his mood improved. He thought for a while, then took out a small ring from his storage ring and handed it to Yun Chuzhou. This ring is the same as my storage ring. It can be hidden according to the master's wishes. Drop your blood in to refine it. Before Di Biming finished his sentence, Yun Chuzhou snatched the ring away. She was no longer afraid of pain. She bit her middle finger with her little white teeth and dripped her blood on the ring. Ha ha ha. You can really hide things in here. My Prince Charming, you're so cute. I love you so much. Yun Chuzhou was jumping up and down in joy. Now, she liked Di Biming 100 times more. Di Biming looked at Yun Chuzhou's lively appearance. The corners of his mouth curled up and his eyes were full of love. My Prince Charming, you're so good to me. I can't repay you. In the future, you can drink my blood as much as you want, as long as you don't drink me to death. Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. When Di Biming heard Yun Chuzhou's words, he felt inexplicably uncomfortable in his heart. Did you think I gave you something just to drink your blood? Di Biming's face sank immediately. Get out. I want to cultivate. Chapter 150, Liars Will Be Struck by Lightning. Yun Chuzhou was stunned for a moment before she left the house in a huff. Crazy. He really is crazy. A second ago, it was still spring, but the next second, it's ice and snow. To think that I thought you weren't bad. Turns out you're still crazy. The more Yun Chuzhou thought about it, the angrier she got. She simply squatted on the ground and used a tree branch to write and draw. Little Black saw that Di Biming did not come out, so it flew down from the tree and landed beside Yun Chuzhou. When it saw the things on the ground, its small eyes blinked. Master, your resentment is so deep. Yun Chuzhou drew a small person on the ground and poked it with a tree branch. As she poked, she cursed softly, Gigolo. Bastard. Gigolo. You don't know how to appreciate a good person. Gigolo. You're crazy. Gigolo. I'll stab you to death. An Fong and an Een hid at the side and looked at each other. Neither of them dared to come out. It seemed that the ninth miss was very angry. They did not know what His Majesty was trying to do. Since he liked her, why did he always make her angry? After poking a few deep pits on the ground, Yun Chujia's mood improved a little. She decided not to lower herself to the level of a gigolo. Besides, being angry was to punish herself with other people's mistakes. She was not that stupid. Yun Chujio accidentally caught a glimpse of the spirit fruit core that was thrown away in the morning. Her heart skipped a beat. The taste of the fruit was too good. The gigolo might not give it to her again in the future. She might as well plant this fruit core, in case it could grow into a fruit tree. Then would she not always have a fruit to eat? Ha! She was really too smart. Yun Chujio did what she said. She found a sunny place, took a small stick, and made a small hole, burying the fruit core inside. Miss Jiu, that's a Hundun fruit. The conditions for its growth are very harsh. Our venerable one searched for a long time before he found one. Even if you plant it, it won't sprout. An Fong saw that Yun Chujia's anger was almost gone, so he dared to come over and talk to her. Humph. How would you know if you don't try? Maybe this fruit core thinks my place is good. Besides, I'm just digging a pit and watering it. It doesn't add anything. If it really grows out, that would be even better. Yun Chujio said indifferently. Yun Chujio and An Fong chatted casually. Di Baiming was so angry that he gritted his teeth. After Di Baiming chased Yun Chujio out, he was inexplicably annoyed. There was no way for him to cultivate. Now, seeing Yun Chujio and An Fong chatting and laughing, he was so angry that he wanted to hit his head against the wall. An Fong. Are you very free? Di Baiming pushed the door open and stared at An Fong gloomily. An Fong shivered and instantly understood that he was in trouble. He quickly said, Your Excellency, I remember now. I still have many things to do. I'll take my leave. An Fong quickly disappeared from Di Baiming and Yun Chujia's sight. What a joke. If he did not leave now, His Excellency would definitely throw him to the 1,000 feet deep abyss. Di Baiming walked to the place where Yun Chujio drew the villain. Black thing, who are you drawing? It's you, it's you, it's you. However, Yun Chujio only dared to think that in her heart, but she said, It's the manager of our kitchen. He's the worst. Hell seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Sooner or later, I'll teach him a good lesson. Di Baiming felt that there was something wrong with Yun Chujia's words. He felt like she was pointing at a mulberry tree and cursing a locust tree. He stared at Yun Chujio without blinking. Yun Chujio was a little scared by his stare and she cursed in her heart. Why was he staring at me like a dead fish? Di Baiming snorted, Black thing, if I find out that you lied to me, I will not forgive you. Prince Charming, I will not lie to you. If one lies, one will be struck by lightning. The villain in Yun Chujia's heart was flipping her middle finger. Gigolo, I lied to you. You're the one who started it. With a crack, a purple lightning bolt fell from the sky and struck Yun Chujio. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.